be an indie means we buck a system that doesn't want us. To be a fringe filmmaker means we don't do it for them. We do it for ourselves. To be an outlaw on the fringe means we'll die before we fail. Be an outlaw.
We're back.
Oh shit, are we doing this tonight?
Oh, was that tonight or next week?
Fuck. Joe, you never tell me anything anymore. I'm just sitting here scrolling my phone. Fuck you.
Wow. And that's it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for tuning in. How are you doing, buddy?
I am well. How are you?
I'm good. I missed you, though.
I missed you dearly, man.
I missed last week. I missed everything. I was sad. Sad I missed it.
You missed a good show. You really
did.
did.
Well, I saw the show. I didn't see it live. Obviously for, reasons beyond a lot of things. But I did see it. It was a great show. Very, very happy for David. Big congratulations go out to Mr. David Lee Madison from The End of the Night, which will be coming up later with Ming Chen. That's a pretty great show. So if you're tuning in now, make sure you tune in then. Make sure you stick with us every Friday night from 9 p.m. all the way straight through till about midnight or thereafter. And I guess like from 9:01 and 40 seconds till midnight plus. That's the nice thing about the internet.
That was important stuff, man, that you were showing me. So
yeah, it really was. I'm super excited about it, and I'll tease everybody a little bit who's here. And if you're not here, you're gonna miss it. But this is the hard copy of the Cold Dead War, issue number 1. This is the second draft that I have the honor of writing for Heavy Metal Magazine, and they've started to send me the pencils of it. And so I'm putting together this really cool thing where I'm going to do I'm going to do printouts, and I'm going to do page 1 of like the script page, and then page 2 of the pencils. And then I'm going to do page, after that I'll do the ink and then the color and then the lettering. And then I'll do page 2 of the script and do that for the whole thing. And I'm going to do one of those for every issue that I'm writing of the Cold Dead War. So this has been one of the most fun things actually that I've ever worked on. So I thank you to Heavy Metal. I thank you to everybody's patience. And I thank everybody who is tuning in tonight, because if you're here, that means you're a fucking outlaw. That's right, Brandon. What's up, man? We got a hell of a show lined up here, but first we've got some people popping in, chiming in.
Yes.
What up, Outlaws? Dino, how you doing? Happy Friday, brother. I want one of those jackets.
That was nice.
I need that jacket. You need to tell me where I can get that jacket, how I can get that jacket, or maybe just show up here and I'll borrow yours for like 10 years. There's my beautiful wife, Rebecca Romero. So happy and grateful that she is still tolerating me after all this time.
Especially after the whole cauliflower incident of 2020.
Well, we actually had cauliflower steaks tonight.
Ah, sweet.
Yeah, and it was just delicious. So Ron says I'm still on Comic-Con. What's up, Chuck? Stephanie, how you doing? Hola. Kelly, how are you? Oh, she's not saying hi to me. All right,
no,
so.
you're not. It's the wife she wants to talk to.
Fine. Jennifer, how you doing? Look, there's Rebecca. She don't even care that I said hi. She's just like, hi, Kelly. You guys could go have a conversation somewhere else outside the outlaw world. We're being outlaws here. Outlaw Clubhouse. What's up, Lauren?
No, I think a few of them kind of dropped out a moment ago. They all had geekgasms when you showed the freaking book.
What happened?
I said, I think a few of them dropped out for a few minutes. They all had geekgasms when you showed the book.
Yeah, man, it's super cool. This is one of my favorite things, and I can't obviously release any of these sketches yet, but just for anybody who might be paying attention real quickly. I mean, I'm just gonna. Where is it here? Actually, there's a super cool. Right here. Oh, I mean, would you just look at that? Oh, it's just ridiculous. So
wow, that was a freaking tease. That's all right.
Well, I've got to earn that A, according to David.
Libby's in the house.
Oh, what's up, Libby? How are you? Amy, how's it going? Damon.
Oh, Dean said he's going to get you a jacket.
You're going to love it, Damon. Amy, how's it going? That's actually that's hashtag Amy Danger.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, we're just going to go ahead and drop it right here. That is hashtag Amy Danger.
Speaking of asparagus, so apparently the Wagner Wiles are going to have a show on Sunday night. I'm trying to remember who their guests are. Billy Pond and somebody Maverick. I'm drawing a blank at the moment, but Lance is going to be eating asparagus.
Yep, he is. Oh, Kelly says, oops, hi, George and Joe. Never mind, Kelly. It's too late.
Yeah, really. Kelly who?
The damage is done. Matt, what's up? Hashtag Plant Power. Dino, working hard behind the scenes on Cinephiles. It's getting close. For those of you who don't know, we've got another new show coming in addition to all the other new shows we have added. We have added another new show hosted by Dean Fernando called Cinephiles, discussing the visual vocabulary of film with Dean Fernando. It's getting close. We will be bringing that to you guys. It will not be live. It will be pre-taped, and it will be available on our YouTube channel. We will promote it on Facebook, but you will have to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/indie_brigade, if you want to see the full episodes. Boom. How about that shit?
That was good.
Yeah. Itai, how's it going? Steven, ready to roll? Yes. Cauliflower can't be steaks and wings. It can. This is not the time or place for that argument, but we could dedicate this episode to that. That's fine too, because we do have Grieco coming on, so Grieco will speak on this, I'm sure.
Big Ed.
What's up, Big Ed? How's it going, man? Oh, thank you very much, Ed. That thing was so much fun, and there's actually more coming. I did another one yesterday. And then I think I'm doing some more tomorrow, actually. So pay attention to the Facebook for announcements on that. I was supposed to do one actually with David Arquette last week, but it didn't work out. Our schedules were absolutely too conflicting. So that one actually went on without me, which made me sad because that one was a really fun panel and I'm sad I missed it. Let's see what else we got. I love seeing original paperback before print. They are always best. Agreed. Gasms. Man, this is great. Look at the audience.
Isn't it? Hey, Ken. Ken's new here. How you doing, Ken?
What's up, Ken? I'm so happy to see the brigade turning out, man. Yeah, I'm not allowed to answer that, Ron. Scott, what's up? First day shooting for Butcher's Bluff next Saturday. Awesome. Scotty,
I don't even know where I am anymore.
Spacing effects, Scotty. I actually owe you a phone call because some of that stuff you sent me, those tracks you sent me, man, amazing, and I want to talk to you about it. So I'm sorry, things have been hectic. Joe, what's up? Steven, what's going on, man? Thank you for joining. Tonight, I'm just kind of giving everybody a second here. We're going to get into it. Tonight's going to be a fun episode, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
Tonight's going to be an episode where Joe is going to put a link up, and people are going to be able to click that link and get into the green room. Look at him; he's getting ready. He's cracking his knuckles. He's ready to. He's going to jump on that button. You've been working out. You've been prepping. You ready? Yeah, buddy. So what we're going to do tonight, just to go over the rules real quick, they're going to be simple. If you come up, if you get on the screen, you're going to be up here with me, Grieco, Mandaville. And you can ask us anything you want to know about any projects you're currently working on.
Don't forget about Terry. Don't forget.
Did I not? I'm sorry. You know what? Terry will be here as well. Terry's already here, and I'm sorry. I thought I actually included him in that, so I apologize, Terry. Man, that's two things this week. First, the drunk Terry picture. So maybe we should give a little background on that. Or not.
In my defense, I was told
you're also drunk.
Okay, besides that, I was told that let's see if that one sticks first, and apparently it didn't stick.
Right, that's why I sent you the other one.
And that's why it was changed. Unfortunately, in one article, it couldn't be changed.
And you used the drunk Terry one for the promo tonight when we went live.
I did not.
Yeah, hell, you didn't.
Did I? Are you shitting me?
Man, I'm sorry, Terry.
Oh, damn, I did. Son of a bitch. Well, on the show card for the actual show, it is not drunk Terry. It is Pilot Terry. Damn.
I was actually just sad I couldn't get the full picture in because he was hoarding the other drink with his arm. Anyway, it was hysterical. It was really funny. But anyway, so let's go over some things. Very quickly, I want to touch on merch. We do have some great merch orders in. We do have some more new great merch coming, but I'm not launching that right now just because we're dealing with some like serious kind of backlog right now on our merch fulfillment. And I have spoken with the vendor, and it is basically this COVID stuff. I mean, it's like it's just put them really far behind. So if you've ordered anything from us and you haven't gotten it, I promise you, you will get it. And I do apologize from the bottom of my heart for the delays, but you will get it. And in the meantime, if you have some patience and want to order some merch now to make sure you get it as soon as humanly possible as things spin back up here, go to romeropictures.com/merch. We've got some cool stuff there. And also you'll find a category called Scare Tactical. Scare Tactical is a line of clothing designed by EON, the gentleman responsible for all of our new logo designs and the rebranding of Romero Pictures and the Indie Brigade. And all of the Scare Tactical purchases, a portion of all of those sales goes directly to the Veterans Compound, which I will be talking about more and more. I have been waiting since April for the 501c3 designation. And again, the IRS says that it's just simply the COVID stuff. So everything's dragging ass and taking its time, but we're getting there. We're getting there fast as possible, and it's going to be good stuff. So head on over there. If you don't like the merch, if you don't want to wait, go ahead and go to buymeacoffee.com/RP Indie Brigade, and you can buy me a coffee. Speaking of coffee, go over to Killer's Choice Coffee and get you some Killer's Choice Coffee, the official coffee of season 4 of Romero Pictures Indie Brigade. That is a coffee company that is proprietary.
Easy for you to say.
It's run by Dan Yeager and C.W. Penny, two very dear friends of the brigade. Also, we're available. We've got audio streams available in other places that I would tell you, but Joe hasn't put a crawl up on the screen. So
I haven't updated those in some time, so I'm not going to go do that.
Memory tonight.
Well, that's good.
After a 2-week hiatus.
You can teach an old dog new tricks.
Where?
Huh? I don't know.
Where
Becky paid me to say that.
Where am I? Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Indie Brigade. Oh, we already did that. Damn it. Oh, let's see. We got Sean Smithson in the house. This guy has been cranking out some amazing woodworking. If you haven't seen it yet, check him out. Ty says, what do you mean drunk Terry? Is there any other Terry? Yes, there's flying pilot Terry.
Ty may be mixing up Terry and...
Yeah, there's only drunk Joe.
Wait, I thought it was blame Joe. See, I can't even speak.
See, that's because you're drunk already.
Not yet, but give me the opportunity.
Here just to watch and listen because I never have any idea what you're talking about. Love learning and laughing. Everyone is cool. Thank you for being here, Susie. It's always a pleasure to see you here and see you interact with everybody. Amanda, how you doing? Hope you're doing well this great Friday night. Fishman, what's going on, brother? Good to see you, man.
I just can't keep up with all these comments.
I'm even doing that faster than you this week. Jesus.
Wow.
Man, Joe, I had a whole week off of not giving you shit. I
know, right?
I got to catch up on it.
It's just you're just regurgitating it, and it's
yeah. What else?
I don't know. It's been too long since we've had to do this.
Good job.
Wow.
Boom.
Hit them real fast.
So, real fast from middle out, right to left, clockwise. Romero Pictures Heavy Metal Indie Brigade, followed immediately by the end of the night with your host, David Lee Madison. Below that, and this Sunday coming up, we've got the Wagner Wiles, hosted by Lance and Samantha Wagner. Amazing show. Below that, we've got the Nasty Nation, hosted by Chuck Nasty. Moving to video very soon, actually. Coming to the left, we've got Blame Joe, which is the mantra here at the Indie Brigade. You guys all remember DEF CON 1, right? That was when we did the first online only fan convention in history. Yeah, that was back in March 28th. before anybody else. Yeah. To the left, we've got the drone cab with our own Terry Jarrell, who's joining us tonight. Left of that, we've got The Devil is Into Detail, a phenomenal written blog by Ian Steyer. Above that, we have two shows coming to the Indie Brigade Network. Living the Scream with Tiffany Shepis, and above that, What Was I Thinking? Fragments from a Dirty Ashtray with our very own Richaed Grieco, also joining us tonight.
Oh, is that a hint for me to take that off a screen now?
Yeah. Nice hat.
Well, thank you. You like that? That's the one thing we don't have that we need to get back on the website is some sort of hat.
Yeah, I know. There's an issue with the hats. I'm not happy with a lot of them.
So see, what he does is he makes me buy them first to see what they look like in person.
The problem is that the way the vendor does things, like the logos print small on the trucker caps, and I don't know. I'm just not super happy with them. I'm working on it. We'll get there. We'll get more merch up.
Don't go dissing my hats.
Let's see. Morbid Mind, the Greyhound has arrived. Gorehound has arrived. Sorry, man. DEFCON 1 was awesome. I loved talking with George, Joe, and Kane Hodder. Michael, that was a good time. I remember you, buddy. That was a fun day. So happy you're here, man. Happy you stuck around.
Okay, so that's Big Ed's kid, and he's the one who we just had the picture on the website with the new shirt.
Yep, I know.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, what do you want to do? You want to?
By the way, did you know that Big Ed and I are going to have something big to talk about here pretty soon?
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did. But did everybody else know? No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
And now guess what else? Now guess what everybody knows?
Nothing, obviously. You haven't told them.
Exactly. But there is a huge announcement coming, and Big Ed is part of that huge announcement. So stick around, stay tuned. We have cool shit coming.
And he's got a movie that he's working on also, which I'm looking forward to.
Mm-hmm. We're going to have him on to talk about that process pretty soon.
Cool.
He and I have been talking about a lot of cool stuff with that, actually. So there's some interesting things happening with that. I think it would be neat to have him on to talk about that.
I was down for a werewolf movie.
Yeah, me too.
So
I'm just going to take a sip of coffee.
Okay. See, George knows if he drinks, then I actually have to talk because, like, my kryptonite is dead air. It drives me up the freaking wall. But I don't have a problem talking, so it doesn't really matter.
Man, that's good coffee. I'm also just going to narrate myself, I think.
Are you?
Now I'm picking up a pen. I'm going to write some notes.
And in a second, he's going to rub his head like he normally does when he's trying to think of something.
That would be super. I don't know what you're talking about. Welcome, everybody, to Romero Pictures Heavy Metal Indie Brigade tonight. It is me, your host, George C. Romero. And with me, as always, is my ever faithful and present producer extraordinaire, Mr. Joe Ridgely. The reason I feel I need to introduce us by name. Oh, there are the names. They keep disappearing. Why did the names go away, Joe?
I don't know what you've been drinking.
The names on the screen.
The names aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, they do.
When I pull up a comment?
Oh, why is that? That's about stupid.
Wow.
I don't think I ever realized that before. Just now.
I don't think it used to do that. Hold on a second. No, it says settings are the same. Huh. Hey, you know what? If you're going to do it, please do it right. I need to get you a hotkey.
Oh, lordy. Hey, you know what? You got to teach me how to do that fancy shit O'Halloran was doing last week.
Why?
So I can control things.
Oh, you can control things on your own screen, but it'll only be on your screen.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
What is that? The share screen thing that's right here?
No, that would share your monitor, what you have on your monitor.
You know, well, this is on my monitor.
Anyway, all right, let's bring up some folks.
Let's do it. Who's here?
Before we do that, I'm going to explain real quickly, guys. I'm going to put the link in the comments. if you would like to come on and ask a question, there are 5 slots at a time in the green room. So if it's full, obviously you're not going to be able to get in by clicking the link. Got to make sure that you have good internet speed. And if you're on a camera or phone, try to be on Wi-Fi. And who do you want up first? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
You know what? Since I apparently left his name out of the list, let's bring Terry up first real quick before he gets too far gone.
You can take Terry.
Oh, hey, it's good. It's good to meet you guys. I've been looking forward to this forever.
Man, it's so good to have you here.
My name's Terry. I'm just shocked at that Photoshop picture you all put up, though. I mean, what kind of alchemy was that?
You know what a lot of people don't realize about you is that you've actually never tasted alcohol.
Yeah, I'm strict H2O, man.
Yeah, I know.
All
And, you know, people don't realize that about you because you take drone piloting that seriously that you actually, before drones were ever invented, you renounced alcohol, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Like 8.5 years before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Long time. I got a whiff of the technology in the ethers there and said, nope. Got to step away from that.
Got a whiff of the technology. He's now huffing instead of drinking. All right, we got this.
Man, it's good to see you. You know, we talk so much, but we don't like do this. We don't, you know, I have Google meetings all week long, but we all just message and stuff because we're always all doing other things. It's good to see you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, you too. It's always good to see you guys too. And again, you know, it's cool that we stay in such contact by messaging and whatever, and keeping everybody's day connected in that way. But it's really cool to you know, face to face it. I mean, but you guys get the drone cav every week with me.
That's true.
Jabbering too. So, and you can replay that, and especially that tricky intro music I try to throw in there.
Yeah.
There's some crazy lady laughing at you there, Terry.
Yeah, you got that right.
Oh man. Well, everybody, for those of you who don't know Terry, Terry
man.
Jarrell is our resident, as we call him, our resident drone Jesus. This guy has forgotten more about drones and small camera systems than most of us will ever learn. And that's one of the reasons that he is our drone Jesus. He's here tonight to answer questions to the panel that have to do with drones and smaller camera systems, like, for instance, the Osmo Pocket, which is a great camera that Terry and I both have. He's still trying to kind of walk me through why he loves it so much, because I get so frustrated with it that I just want to kind of chuck it sometimes. But I love the quality of stuff it gets. I just can't seem to get it to work as flawlessly as he does. So anyway, thank you for coming on tonight, man. And let's bring some other folks up on the screen.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Mr. Grieco, are you ready? Wow.
Boom.
I'll take that as a yes.
What do you do? Give you the finger?
Yeah, I gave you the finger.
What's up, brother?
Hey, brother. Hey, Joe. How you doing,
Hey,
brother?
man.
Hey, man.
You guys
Hey,
are you've met Terry face to face, I think, before. If not, this is the first time you guys have been on together. So Grieco, Terry Grieco. So happy that you've joined us here again tonight, man. We're just gonna have fun. It's gonna be a good time. We're gonna goof around and we're gonna answer some questions for some folks. Also, for those who don't know, Richaed just put out a brand new single called 6 Feet Away on July 3rd. It launched. We did the music video and we premiered it on the Indie Brigade Network. If you haven't seen that yet, go to our YouTube channel, check it out. The song is available for purchase on iTunes and Google Play. And beyond that, Richaed is one of my best friends on earth and a phenomenally talented, obviously, actor, but for people who don't know, a director, a producer, and just an all-around creative artist. And we're lucky and proud to have him here tonight. So any questions about the creative process, indie directing, art, anything like that, we got you guys. So is Michael here?
He is. Michael, you ready? See, at least he gave me a thumbs up.
Michael Mandaville.
Well, I figure I was outstaged there by Richaed, which is fitting, so that's all good. I'll just kind of go for the more general one. Where's your album, Richaed? What's going on? I mean, it's been 2 weeks since I saw you. You should have it done by now.
It's funny you said that, Mike. I think I'm pretty close. I'm
good.
Probably a month away from recording 2 more songs. I haven't even told Romero this, and 4 other songs that I've already had recorded. Just kind of tweaking a little bit. So.
Well, just remember, I committed you, so I'm on the line here. So
Michael, thank you for joining us again. Michael, I spoke to Michael less than an hour ago, and he said, "Well, I'm just going to go close my eyes for a few minutes before the show." And I just, this is a film guy right here who literally says, "Well, I can fit in an 18-minute, nap."
That's it. Hit the timer.
Thank you for joining us again, Michael. You've met Terry.
Yes, hey, Michael.
Yeah.
Terry. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
And what are the latest? And now here's our professor, Michael Mandaville.
All right, guys, I am dropping that link in the comments now.
Yeah, do it. Let's drop a link and see who wants to jump on. What do you guys think about everything that's going on? I heard 98% of productions. Richaed, you told me this. 98% of the productions in LA got shut down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are going. To be honest with you, a lot of people are going up to Vegas right now. It's a little easier up there. The film commission is a little easier to deal with up there. There was a SAG ballot. I'm sure Michael knows about this.
Oh yeah.
Came out that was pretty much a SAG trying to manipulate its people. So vote no on that thing. It's sneaky. Every time you have a union and it becomes bigger and bigger, then it gets affiliated with like the AFL-CIO and stuff like that. It becomes not for the union members. It becomes about making money and generating money for them. So all our dues and all our stuff and all those bonds we put up for movies and all this, and now I don't know what the percentage is for the COVID-19 thing and this and that. And, a lot of people are getting away from what you're going to find is you're going to get people going, well, outlawing it, going, I'll go to Vegas, I'll make it non-union, I'll hire union actors and just shoot it because people want to work, people want to do stuff. They're shooting 2 movies up there that are friends of mine that I know, and everything. They do everything safe and this and that, and masks and stuff. But I think one of the most important things is SAG is making it more difficult than anything to make stuff, especially for the bigger films. I mean, the 500 and under, I think you can manipulate things. I mean, I know, Michael, you can get an actor with a big name. You can go, look, I'll give you this amount of money through SAG. I'll give you this amount of money here, and put you on as an executive producer, so you get away with that. The bond issue, but never show them the full cast. Just kind of. But it's difficult. But there's hopefully it loosens up a little bit, or we'll go to Iceland and shoot.
Right. Well, that's something that Michael and I talk about, is actually going overseas to shoot.
Absolutely.
And Michael's actually a huge advocate of that. Go ahead.
I have to say, I think Richaed hit so many well-considered points there, because there's a book I was reading called The Collapse of Complex Societies. Not exactly, something that's going to be made into a mini-series, but at the same time, you have to sit and just look at when things get more and more and more complex, that it just stops working one way or the other. It's no different. I mean, all of us, I think, probably used to work on a car, or be able to some degree. And now, working on a car, are you kidding me? I look under the hood of my car and go, okay, I think that's this part, because it's all computer. And the same applies to unions, the structure of films, and Richard remembers, and certainly Cameron and Terry and Joe, where let me get like X number of guys. Let's go make a movie. Let's get some shots. Let's a little more guerrilla, but it's also creatively fluid in more ways than structurally responsive. And as a result of that, just where I mean, it's almost a running joke with SAG that you have to photocopy your entire submission package because on a number of my movies, they just keep losing it. So you have to photocopy everything to resubmit it. One we did 4 times. And you go, well, it goes into a hole, and you go, what just happened? And that's, I mean, that's just a small bureaucratic office function. And I think one thing is also the structure. There is no theatrical now. There's no DVD. There's limited. Basically, you have streaming and free television and on a territory basis. And the cost for COVID, talking to bond companies and insurance companies, could be 20 to 30% more for indie films. So a $10 million movie will be 13 or somewhere. But the problem is, you want to make a $500,000 movie or $250,000 movie or $1 million movie. Proportionally, all these protocols are not 20, 30%. They could wind up being 40%. And SAG will mandate, unless you have a COVID plan, you're non-SAG. So I think Richard's right in absolutely saying Nevada, alternate. It's kind of like taxes. People, if they get taxed too much, they go somewhere else. Not dissimilar in a way.
We have a guy watching, John McLaren, who I call Gunny. I met this gentleman a few years back in Texas, and he's got a question: can indies not be separate from SAG? Just to kind of touch on that real quickly, and I would love for you guys to touch on that with me as well. But just so you and anybody else watching who might be new or in the extreme sort of pre-SAG stage of your indie career, SAG is obviously the Screen Actors Guild, but the difference between SAG and non-SAG is all about your talent. In other words, if you shoot a non-SAG film, you cannot get SAG actors in your film. And I actually. This is a phenomenal question to actually hear from both of you guys about tonight, from both your perspectives. So let's maybe start with Michael, and what do you think about going non-SAG versus going SAG for for like say a $500,000 movie?
Well, for one thing, I think there's various styles of indie, and if you do proper casting, you could probably find some very good non-SAG actors who have extensive theater experience and a lot of other, qualities. So I think you might put in more in that regard, but I think you can come up with somebody. There's even a style of shooting called mumblecore, which basically has to do with a small outline and the fact that bits of dialogue or whatever, but a lot of improvisation. So what's the stylistic needs of your film? The second is that there's a fair number of actors that do commercials that are non-union, and they have gone financial core. It's called FI Core, which under federal law, you're allowed to actually be a member of the union into a non-member status. It gets a little complicated, but essentially you could work non-union and union. And there's a fair number of those actors. John Voight's one of them because he had other things he wanted to do. And then I'd say, indeed, unless you're signed with SAG, fully affiliated SAG actors, it's going to put them under a lot of scrutiny. The other is indie films have actually been making more inroads shooting overseas. So if you are shooting overseas, what's to say you couldn't get Australian, New Zealand, Canadian, UK actors that could speak English with an American accent, or others, doesn't matter, what's the training, to actually come across as your indie film, even overseas. Your $1 million, $250,000, could probably shoot for 4 or 5 weeks in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's option. I mean, what if you had an American, Richard, Michael, Cameron, Joe, and Terry in Morocco, and we're on a mission of discovery, and Richard has his guitar, and we're off and doing our bit. Is that a movie? Sure. So how creatively can you come up with new configurations? In point of fact, when it comes to looking at Netflix and other shows, I'm actually far more enthralled with shows shot out of the United States than some of the material TV or film in the United States. So that's kind of my take on, options, opportunities.
Grieco, SAG, not SAG, $500,000 and under.
Well, I mean, yeah, Michael, what he's telling is the viable thing on what to do, and it's definitely we should do. I mean, there's a lot of movies that will use a few SAG actors that are named, and try to fly under the radar. I'm sure you guys all know this.
Sure.
But I think what's happening now, if SAG continues down this rotten path of destructiveness toward filmmaking, people are going to start. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know there's Fight Corps, but I mean, who knows? That you might get a group that goes, you know what? Let's make our own union.
Yeah.
Let's make the Indie SAG union or the Indie Actors Union, the IAG.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Or IAU.
I like where your brain's at.
I think that's a great idea.
Because you think of where SAG was founded, it was kind of founded on the same premise. I mean,
Yeah.
it was kind of a bunch of actors. But back then, SAG was founded with actors and people that were in the business that actually did well in the business, that did movies, that directed, that produced. Today, you call SAG, you got people that have no
clue
idea about the business for the most part. And when you talk to them, it's just gotten to the point where, and it's funny, LA is horrible. SAG LA sucks ass. New York is really good. Chicago is really good as far as talking to them. But LA, I mean, they just took a big dump. SAG did out here. So,
Yeah.
So form the independent actors union.
There you go.
Good idea, actually.
Yeah, I really like that
Someone
idea.
jot that down, or somebody.
Oh, we got it. You said it here, so we got it. Terry.
Yes.
Union drones or non-union drones? Which do you prefer to work with?
Maximum flexibility.
Yeah. Sorry, we started in on the SAG stuff. I wanted to make sure you were still awake.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah. Having my water.
Uh-huh. That's just straight vodka, isn't it?
Really?
Wow.
I texted you and it's like, come on.
Union strong. Max Wassa says SAG. Oh, yeah. Union strong since 82. Max Wassa says. Gunny, start the indie group called SAG in. Saganon. Oh, that's man. Good. So good. All right. So we got his question answered. We've got, let's see, we got some comments coming in. Is anybody joining in our lobby to ask us any questions, Joe?
There's a couple of people, but first I'd like you guys to address this because that was pretty cool.
Comic work, Terry with tech work, and this is like a fun college lecture. More experience than someone would ever get in a class. Thank you very much, Elena. That's very sweet.
Thank you.
That's cool. Thank you.
We're thrilled that everybody's here and thrilled that people tune in to listen to us. This is all experience that we've all just gotten from just kind of being beaten up by the business for a long time. But I guess that's the best way to learn anything, right?
Always jump in, go make some mistakes, come out with something and learn, for the next iteration.
Yeah.
I think people sometimes you make something, and I'm working on this animation and I definitely have some work to do.
Oh, come on. I think the one that you sent Joe that we showed here a couple of weeks ago was perfect.
That was cool.
Did you see that? Did you guys see that? Did you see that, Richard? Did you see that,
Yeah.
Terry?
Saw it.
That was hysterical.
Great. That was awesome.
All right,
Well-
you guys ready for the first audience member question?
Do it.
All right, Mr. Ron, pronounce your own last name because you always say I say it wrong.
Pertee.
What's up, Ron?
You just say it phonetically, and there's no. Everybody always says Purdy. There's no D and there's no Y. So I don't know. I don't get it. I blame my father. But
I think it's because you're so purty.
well, that's besides the point. I mean, I don't want to overshadow everyone with my beauty. But you know, it is what it is. So I've been making films for 10 years now, short films. Never really got to the big feature thing until recently. And I seem to have a block when it comes to money because I just made a short film recently using the whole Zoom thing. George has seen it, and it's getting some traction, and people want more. And I have a story for it, but the minute the actress said, well, I want XYZ per episode, and I'm like, oh, well, you know, and then people are like, well, self-fund it. Well, I don't have that kind of money. You know, it's tough to be poor and be a filmmaker at the same time if people tell you to self-fund things. Hey, Sean. And it's I'm just kind of blocked because I've tried crowdfunding in the past. I've tried doing investing and getting investors and stuff. And it seems like every time money comes up, I kind of get like a gut ache. And I'm wondering if there's a way to be as indie as I am, like, you know, like, holy crap, I've been doing this by, and that's another thing, I've been doing this by a lot of the time is by myself, you know. So finally having something that people really want to watch a lot, and then having to get possibly crews together and stuff like that. And I don't feel comfortable getting a crew together for anything in this climate right now. That's just, you know, plus they have mandates in our town now where if you get fined if you are outside without a mask, and I don't want to I feel like I would have to pay for the actor's fine if they were caught without it, and that's even more money I don't have. So it's not a creative issue for me. It's more of a like how can I raise money being as small as I am?
Wow,
I mean, not here, but you know.
You just kicked this whole thing off with like the $1 million question, just keep it in the money theme. So first of all, thank you for coming on. We love you. Your short is great. I love that people are seeing it and finding it. And the fact that you said you get a gut ache after 10 years of making films when it comes to finding money. We all do after decades. So it's literally the biggest question, right? It's that whole, how do you make a movie without money, and how do you get money to make a movie? And it's the whole, like, how do you get experience without a job? How do you get a job without experience, right? So it's the same kind of argument. And, you know, there's a lot of different opinions about that probably on the screen tonight. But one of the reasons that we all get along so well is that we generally share a similar kind of head down approach to it, which is money is a moving target, right? It is a moving target based on a lot of things, based on just the climate of society in general. Money is literally a moving target put on like a greased up pig and set loose, right? And you have to be able to be nimble. And I think the best way to kick off, maybe potentially the three of us taking a stab at this, is that you've got to be like a ninja. So you've got to have your what you're trying to raise money for. You have to have it laid out. You have to have it prepped. You have to have a pitch for any investor and an investor for any pitch, right? So if you are at the coffee shop and you overhear a guy talking about his thoroughbred horse that he just spent $500,000 to prep for the next race, odds are this guy might have 50 grand you need. If you end up in a situation where you can strike up a conversation with him, you've got to know your audience. You've got to know exactly what kind of thing is going to grab his attention. And you've got to have something nowadays ready on your phone that you can say, what's your email? Let me share a file with you or a folder with you. You know,
well, you said yourself that the short is a good proof of concept for
what
I'm looking for. Yeah,
it is. So the idea being that whoever you never know who you're going to talk to. You never know what kind of situation they're going to be in. You also never know. You might meet a guy who's got an extra 50 grand, but he might not be looking for a Ford. He might be looking for a Chevy, right? So you need to be able to pivot. It's a constantly pivoting conversation that is chasing a moving target. Grieco, what do you think about that? How do you get money to make movies? What's the best way to get money to make a movie? Are you there? Hello? Did we lose him? Grieco?
Maybe you can't hear.
Are you there?
Can you hear me? I think we lost his audio or something.
One other thing is I also feel like I'm not big enough to be able to pitch to people that are in the business. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I've had people do
No.
write up. Oh, go ahead.
You want me to?
Um,
Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead. There's Richard.
Richard, can you hear us?
Can you?
Can you hear
I
me?
can hear you. It's garbly. It's garbly a little bit, but Ron, I mean, Romero's right. I mean, and when you pitch or when I get pitched something like a script or something, I mean, you got to look at everything as a chessboard, okay? And you only get one shot at these investors, one shot at these people. So you got to have a script that is something that you're passionate about, that's really good. And sometimes it just got to be the right genre. Get one or two or three people that you can get or to say, I'm interested in doing it. What's your budget? So you say, well, I'm looking to make it for, let's say, hypothetically, $250,000-$300,000. I mean, everything, especially low budget, they always look at overseas. What is the market overseas for this actor and this actress? You know, so you got to get somebody with a name value, specifically, pretty much just the main two people, and they don't even have to be the main two people. They have to be in the movie a little bit, but they're going to be your main header above the title, you know, and that's going to bring in money from investors, but you got to get those people. It's just, it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, I get people that come to me with scripts, but they don't have money, but they want to put my name on it to raise the money. I stopped doing that a while ago, but then there's certain things. If you get a good group together, it's kind of like they'll invest in your movie if you get a good group together. And it's all about the talent and the director and the script, and because they look at the names, in it, and they look at the names. They go, "Oh, you got let's say John Voight and someone else, or you got." But how much are they in the film? Oh, they're only in it for like one day. But it doesn't matter. That name value, you know, is a big thing. You know, where people go, oh, I'll put, you know, $50,000 into that. It'd be great to get one investor or two investors. You don't want a bunch of dentists.
Right.
You know?
And I think what you're talking about is sort of in the situation Ron's in, because Ron's follow-up question was that since he's not really a big name yet, even though he's working on his brand, I think that's where you're coming from. I think maybe the audio cut in and out a little bit, but what Grieco's talking about, Ron, is like, if you want to really go after money quick, fast, and in a hurry before you feel you're at the stage where your name can get that money, that's where you got to go after the talent, right? You got to have the names, right? And I think that, but you and I have talked a lot offline as well. And I think that you've done a really good job developing your brand so far. And I think that you, first of all, somebody commented and said, you need to learn hope to pitch your movie idea properly. This is like actually one of the best things I've ever seen somebody put into a quick sentence. You know, you've got to believe in yourself and your project. And man, Ron, you are a very talented individual, man. And we're really proud that you're here in the brigade. And, you know, I'm proud to watch you on this journey, man. You know, and Michael, do you have any thoughts on maybe how to raise some money?
Oh, yeah. Well, I definitely echo both your and Richard's sentiments there, because I think you definitely need to create value, names, and I think you need to be ready on the pitch. One thing is I think 80% of the business in many cases, or in many human endeavors, is psychology, and the other 20% is mechanics. So you could pick up a phone and call, we could all do those mechanics. how you pick up the phone, when you pick up the phone. Do you pick it up, call somebody first thing Monday morning, or do you wait until like the Monday burns off and you get them on a Tuesday, which is probably a little better in the afternoon? You know, there's little things like that, psychological. You should have probably, and most people are not good salesmen, but the idea to be have a few books that you can get, like the Sales Bible is a very good one, a number that give you techniques of sales and human nature. I've come across people that you go, God, you're not very good at writing, but you're a great salesman. And you can acquire some of those skills, and I think incrementally, by making these small improvements in these areas, it's going to improve your odds. I actually went with a guy, it would be before the internet, to a pitch at Paramount, and this guy literally had done so much homework. I would actually, because I could type so fast, I could type like 130, 140 words a minute. So he would hire me to type up his stuff. And I did it for months, 3 or 4 months. And finally, I go, what are you doing? You're in the industry. He goes, he sells pitches to Paramount. And before I asked, can I go? He goes, fuck no. He goes, no, you're going to screw me all up. And I never asked him again. And then he said, okay, I'll let you go. And he goes, literally, his words were exactly, shut the fuck up and don't say one fucking word. You say hello, you say goodbye, you say, yes, it's a nice day, and that's all you say. And before the internet, again, he knew this guy's habits. He knew when the sun was coming in the window and where I should sit. This guy had his, like, you sit here, I'm sitting here on the couch. And he went through the pitch, got a check for $480,000 the next day. So this guy put a lot of time into it. Now, that being said, the same mechanics apply to you. You know, if you, and one of the viewers echoed, you have to practice the pitch, have people like Cameron or I or anybody else just interrupt, get distracted. You got to persevere. You got to have people give you a tough playing field, right? Mm-hmm. I also think you could go to, and I don't know your story, but you're selling potential. You're not selling the short. You're selling like, and you should be selling, either it's a feature or it's a TV series.
This was more of a series, yeah.
Okay, so you're selling a series, and people want to hear a new and original voice. Do you have a website? Do you have people getting likes, validation of the audience, interest from the audience? That builds momentum, and momentum is a hard thing to fight off, right? Mm-hmm. People go, oh, that's interesting. Let me check that out. So I think a couple of those would go. Also, depending on the material, in the short term, you might find, depending on the subject matter, a sponsor that would like to get local publicity by sponsoring your film. You could feed the machine by saying, and I'm not sure what city you're in, but you might get a local sponsor that gives you enough money to move forward with the project, and you tie them in, use them as a location, and they get more business as a result. It might be difficult, a little different in this environment with the pandemic, but one of the principles apply there, and that might be your short-term jump to the next level.
Right. Okay.
And it's not all or nothing, like $1 million or nothing. I mean, those are some of my points on that, but I think it is perseverance is key too. I've seen people that have not that talented, but boy, they have perseverance and they don't take no for an answer.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
probably helps. I was a used car salesman for a while too.
Oh, you're ahead of the game. You'll be running.
You got it handled.
Probably next week.
Yeah. Okay, I got a follow-up question on that. So, Richard, from your point of view, what's the best way to approach somebody? Because Michael had an interesting story about the guy who knew where to sit on the couch and all that stuff. Like, that's a huge subject that we actually talked a little bit about, I think, a couple of weeks ago with GMT, and with Michael, we've talked about that. Mm-hmm. What's the best way to approach somebody? Because walking into a money meeting can be very intimidating for a lot of people, especially when they're just starting to get to that point in their career where they're going to ask for money from people. What's some advice you have on that?
Are
you there?
Are you talking to Richard or Michael?
Richard.
Oh, okay.
I was asking him for a follow-up about yours. Yeah.
Okay.
You got any advice on that from your perspective about? Yeah. I think there's bad audio issues.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it is, Ron? If you believe in something so much and you believe in a project so much, and I mean, I've seen so many people that hadn't done much in this town and stuff like that persevere and get stuff done. I mean, for example, I had a show, Gigolos, on Showtime. Went for 6 years, unscripted, but we had an idea. We set up a meeting at Showtime, and there was 2 heavy-duty agents with us, and 3 of us that went up. I told everybody, when I go in the room, you met this gigolo at the Mirage. And the reason why we started this show is because I went up there 5 days before, just for one day, met this guy. He said he's a gigolo. I thought it was really interesting. All of a sudden, I followed him around, talked to him, this and that, got in his head. And all of a sudden, I go, this is a great idea for a show. Jay, you met him the night after for dinner. And Jay goes, okay, what do I say? I go, do you remember that dinner? And he goes, yeah. I go, no, you don't. You were never there. I go, just say, yeah, the guy's awesome, is great, and what a story. And then let me take it. Because basically what I'm doing is just acting in there. So basically what I did, I told everybody to shut their mouth other than what they're going to say, and then let me run with it for 30 minutes, which I did. And we got picked up for 6 episodes. We got an order for 6 episodes, and we only had 1 gigolo at the time. We had to get 5 other ones. We had no idea where to get them. So, I mean, it's a good problem to have because we couldn't believe we sold it. But we did it, and it lasted 6 years. But I think with you, it's all about, I mean, I know we can't walk into a room now, but I think some places you can, or this and that. I think when you walk in a room, you got to own the room. Not be an asshole, but just like be confident about what you're doing, you know, because people love that stuff, you know, and when you walk into a room, I mean, even when I was first starting out, I felt, I just felt that I deserve it. I should get it. And, you know, there's no reason why this shouldn't be mine. And that was when I was 21. And bounce around different places in New York and LA and stuff. So I think if you have something with conviction and stuff like that, you want to earn that person's interest and make them, and almost you want them to listen. So just make it interesting. Know your shit. You got to know your shit when you're talking. You got to, if they ask you a question, you already got an answer for it. You know what I mean? I mean, everything is like, it's almost like you walk in there with a full, you got to walk in with a full army of just knowledge of what you want to do. And then attack them with knowledge, because knowledge is power. Period. Unfortunately, we don't see a lot of knowledge anymore. But
that's a really good point. You know, I'd like to follow that up because the people you're pitching, if you're pitching a money person, their job is to protect their money. Your job is to get their money. I mean, not to sound like too much of a dick, but that's, if you're trying to get somebody to write you a check, your job at that moment is to get them to write you that check. You said you used to sell cars, man. It's the same thing. Like, what's it going to take to put you in this fucking movie today? You know, what's it going to take to get you to back this idea? The artist in you, and this is something that listening to both of these guys made me think of. You guys ever remember those tapes of was it Coppola going nuts, like freaking out that everybody was going to hate his movie?
Apocalypse Now or One from the Heart?
No, Apocalypse Now. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah.
Remember those tapes of him just going, just like, that's the side that the money guys don't want to see. Right? Like that's the side that all of us artists have. And that's the side that questions all of our creative decisions every day before we walk on set.
Oh yes.
But when you walk into that, that's not the side that the money wants to see. The money wants to see that you believe in yourself, and they want to, and their job is to beat you out of that, out of talking them out of their money. So you have to have all the answers. This
One
is
thing-
what everybody has said.
You know, one thing interesting is that when I said it's 80% psychology, 20% mechanics, I'm really not kidding. I mean, I think that it could be the stock market. It has to do with the film industry. It has to do with family and your kids and 100 other things. Most people, most human beings say, I'm not good enough for this. And I've encountered a number of actors, very well-known actors, that still get nervous going in front of the camera. And I mean, like I'm going to get sick kind of nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is surprising. You go, geez, are you okay? And they're like, yeah, this always happens to me. Yet they still do it.
Yeah.
Because they're so compelled to do it. And you need to find a compelling reason to go through the door and to create that reason. And every day to go, you know, this is my belief in this project. And anything that's a limiting belief, you need to eradicate. If you don't do anything, there's going to be all this pain that you're not doing it. If you actually put in a belief, a positive belief about it, then you actually embrace that positive belief. It is really 80% psychological, I think.
So essentially what you mean is like a filmmaker has to be a better actor than a lot of actors.
By far. Some of the actors I've seen, that's for darn sure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, look, that statement is you have to be an actor. You know, you have to be what the room requires of you for the stage of battle that you're in. Right? Because everything from the moment you go to try to get somebody to write you a check to make your thing up until you are, you know, in the editing room arguing with your editor about where to slip and edit, to, you know, all of those things that could potentially become arguments. They're all little battles. They're all two struggles. And those two struggles are between you and whatever that might be. You've got to just kind of like, you've got to be what you need to be through the process. As a director, man, I've had to be everybody from, you know, a cinematographer to a psychotherapist, right? I mean, like if you want to get a good performance out of an actor, sometimes you've got to literally be a therapist, you know? And that's okay. That's totally fine. Because that's what that actor needs. And that's what you need to be to get that actor where you need that actor to be, you know, to get somebody to write you a check, you might need to be a banker for a day, which means you need to understand how the banking system works, right? Like that's, you know, I mean, you don't have to obviously be a banker, and you don't obviously have to have a career in it, but you need to have a deep enough understanding so that when the money guy that you're talking to starts throwing around all this shit and being like, well, what about this? And, you know, what do I get a pref and blah, blah, blah. But you need to know like what all that is. And you need to be able to fire back and answer those things quickly. The more confidence you have in yourself, the more confidence you give the investor in what you're talking to them about. And the closer and more likely you are to get them to write you that check.
All right, let me write that down. Don't wet your pants in front of them. Good to know. Okay.
Unless somebody says, all right, wet your pants in front of me and I'll give you the money.
And go for it.
Well, I'm not looking for the money in Germany, but I mean, that's, you know.
All right, guys, we have
all right.
Steve on deck. Ron, thank you very
much. Thanks, Ron.
Yep, bye.
See you, Ron.
All right. And again, everybody, I am putting the link in the comments right now. If you would like to join the panel and ask a question, please click the link and you can come up here live. Next, we have Steve. Steve. Uh-oh.
What?
Thought Grieco said something.
Well, Brandon had some good comments in there.
Oh, he did?
I don't know who he is.
Sorry, Brandon.
Yeah.
And you have to really be passionate.
Yeah,
He's 100% right on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, a word that kept hearing come up
Go ahead, Joe.
is confidence, and that, you know, that comes even in what I do with the tech stuff. I mean, you have to have confidence in your knowledge. Again, going in, having answers, being ready to go, and trust yourself with it. So I think those two are some amazingly powerful tools to confront any situation like that.
I think that's a really good point you just brought up, Terry. You've got to trust yourself, but you know what? You've also got to trust you've got to trust your material too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's an excellent point. Thank you for jumping in and bringing that up, man.
All right, we got Steve on deck. Steve, are you ready for us? All right. Steve Paddock?
Yo, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how you been?
Good, man. How about you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Great. I didn't know. I've been on some bad Zoom calls. Things didn't work out. So,
No worries.
Ron brought up some great points. He kind of into the question I was already kind of going to ask, but I guess mine goes a little more in depth with a handful more details as I was watching that. As I was watching that first one, first and foremost, I wanted to touch base with Richaed. I was sitting there making notes. I'm like, first, cute puppy. What kind of dog you got?
Can you
Can you hear me?
What do you say?
can you hear him?
What kind of dog? Do I have a flash?
It was garbled.
Okay.
Puppy. The
What did you
puppy.
say, Joe?
Time out, everybody. Hey, Richaed, can you do me a favor? Can you back out all the way and come back in? I think there's a connection issue on your side. And usually refreshing that takes care of that
Yeah, let
issue.
me back up. I'll be right back.
Cool.
All right.
Is he going to bump out?
Yeah.
Well, that's all right.
Come back.
So,
He'll be back.
Better than ever.
Wow. I rolled through a handful here. I'll get straight to it. I'm excited y'all are here and having me. Getting an investor meeting. So I'm basically to the point where on another project, I have, George, I spoke with you previously, maybe a couple months back. You had helped get me some information. So I started to get ballsy about it. I've gotten basically pieces and parts. I tried to reach out to an investor, friend of a friend. I probably didn't approach that the best way. He said, okay, what's your pitch? I'm out fishing. He said, I'll give you 60 seconds. And I'm like, and I'm going to put out another casting call. Things haven't worked out. Locations have punched me in the gut. COVID's been ripping me in half, like many people. But I see people are out there getting it done. So I'm like, I got to find a way. So
Sure.
I have another opportunity for a call, 50K possibly on the line, hoping. And, after that first meeting, I said, I probably don't have all the correct answers for you right now. Respectively, let me back out. You go back to fishing. I'll call you when I'm ready. He said, that's good. So I'm like, okay, so there's this possibility. In the meantime, welcome back, Richaed. I have a question for a sec.
Is that better? Can you hear now?
I've signed up for, I'm like, okay, I was going through for a couple of days thinking about everything I did wrong on that potential investor call. And I said, okay, so here's what I need to learn, A, B, and C. I've got some skills to learn, and I got to maybe not necessarily cram them in, but make sure I'm on the right track. I signed up for, have you guys seen on YouTube the master classes? So I've signed up for a couple of those, doing Ron Howard and Chris Voss for negotiation. And then I joined Toastmasters for public speaking. So I'm trying to, wrap up and own some of my skill sets, because I'm like, okay, well, I got a big fish on the line and he's still hanging out there. So I got to be ready when I go back.
Right.
Are those am I on the right track there as far as, approach skill sets for an investor possible? What else would you recommend?
Michael, you actually just did a thing that actually speaks to exactly what kind of Steven's talking about. You just did like a 3 or 4 day thing, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's actually one of those Tony Robbins events I just did. And I got to tell you, though, I've read his book since '92. I mean, I think you have to, whatever method you want to use, I mean, whatever it is. But the point is, when I say psychological and the mechanics, but trying to be positive, it's a tough business. You have to find a way. And it was a Zoom meeting with 27,000 people. And I could just see Joe trying to manage that one. He would be drinking heavily right now, but
He thinks I'm not.
he'd be passed out.
But it's the kind of thing that you have to constantly boost yourself one way or the other and find an avenue to do it. I thought it was great. I mean, I take wherever I can from whatever place wisdom comes, and I embrace, I'm happy with, and let other people do whatever they want. So I think you have to definitely get that psychological boost in whatever form comes. One thing is that if I heard you correctly, when you're going to go back for the pitch and move forward, you always want to create a potentiality outside a linear conversation. So if you have a conversation with Mr. Smith and you're going to pitch him, you want to have like a third party that you've also contacted that might be interested in your show or your feature or whatever. So you're kind of saying, well, I have contacted 2 or 3 people and there's possibilities, and ideally at least got, well, a hook in the water, as it were, or maybe a few tugs, as it were, so you're able to say to them, well, do you want to keep the conversation open? If you're the only one they're talking to, then that closes the door. You want to be able to say, well, let's keep the door at least open to get things, the conversation going. And it also feeds into your own psychology, because you also walk in the door going, if it's not you, piss off, and I'm going to do it one way or the other. And I've already got a couple things going. And a friend of mine used to just say, he loves no's, because he goes, it took 100, he literally had this down, something like 171 no's to get to a yes when he was selling. So every time he got a no, he knew he was closer to the yes.
Yeah.
Which meant he was basically mind fucking himself, because he's trying to mess with his brain about the equation, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that was actually his term, but he goes, God, I got to know. That's great. This is great. Let's keep going. I mean,
Whatever you got to do.
Whatever you got to do. And I think if you have to do it, give it a name for a routine and a ritual. Yeah. So you can call it back in a moment. And then what you could do is draw it right up, because humans are far less, we're far less smart than we think we are. We are very much an amalgam of routines, rituals, cognitive bias, behavior, both positive and negative, and you have to use that. Look at human nature as dissecting it and building your own. I mean, like I said, 80% psychological, 20% mechanics, So that's kind of my take on it.
I think dissecting is an important word that you just used as well, Michael, because I think, Steve, one of the things that I picked up on is that you're working on this masterclass and that masterclass and Toastmasters, and working on a lot of different aspects. And one of the things that you mentioned you were doing is taking a class on negotiations. I think that's great, but I also think that it might be a little bit, try to compartmentalize your preparations a little bit, right? Like when you go into your first pitch, you don't need to worry about negotiating yet, right? You need to worry about getting to the negotiations. So you've got some time. So don't overwhelm yourself with preparation. You know what I mean? The only thing that you need to be super prepped on is your own material and your own belief in that material, and then and your own belief in yourself, right? When it comes time to get to the negotiation part, then worry about the negotiation part, For now, especially with this guy you're talking about, he gave you 60 seconds. That tells you, here's an interesting one for you, Grieco. Can you hear me? Are you back? Is your audio good, Richard? Garbled?
Okay.
Okay. So I don't think you heard in the beginning, Steve said he spoke to an investor who was fishing, and the investor said, okay, what's your pitch? You have 60 seconds, go. And Steven's response was, well, I don't have all the answers to your questions. I'll come back to you when I do. And the guy was okay with that. But the fact that he even just said that to you, like, that's legendary, kind of like when somebody says that, I remember the first time somebody said that kind of thing to me, and I was like, I kind of chuckled, and I said, "Really? Okay, fine." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm dead serious." And I was like, "Okay, fine." And I realized he was serious, and I just kind of sucked it up, and I hit him with I was done in like 45 seconds.
Mhm.
But, it tells you a lot about your audience, and I think that that's an important thing too. So I think to kick it over to Richard for his take on this would be, how do you gauge your audience? So now you've got a guy who says to you, "You've got 60 seconds, go." What does that tell you about the guy you're pitching to, and what do you have to accomplish in that 60 seconds?
Well, I mean, you can kind of read somebody pretty quickly if you're interested in or not. I mean, I found the ones that say, let's say you need $500,000 to do a film. The ones that say, "Oh, you know what? It'd be easier for me to get 15 million than 500,000." Those guys are no good.
Right.
I've just found that out over the years. But you got 60 because you if you don't get a response in 2 to 3 days after your conversation with somebody, I always, I mean, did the guy that you talked to, did he call you back?
Me specifically, no, he didn't call me back. He's basically he's someone that, and this is going to lead into another question, basically about, this is a friend of a friend, kind of like a personal connection, who somebody was like, maybe in the background somewhere, along the trail of my life of, they're always kind of like watching, and I never really speak to them very often, but when it is, it's one of those people that, sets you up, pats you on the head, saying, you're doing a good job, like maybe a low-key mentor off to the side, or, someone along your journey says, implants words or philosophies, and you're a gentleman and a scholar, keep going. They attend your graduation as as like, say, a friend of, like your parent has done business with them in the past, so then they kind of support you off to the side kind of thing. So they haven't called me back specifically, and it's been maybe a week since I had that conversation, and kind of like, holy shit. So kind of realizing that I was not quite as ready to go in there. I wasn't even expecting to pick up the phone on the first click. I'm normally ready to leave a message and kind of say, okay, well, let's get the call back ready kind of thing.
Right. But you do feel you have an open door to call this person back.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't want to pester them too much, because I have like that secondary relationship with them. I know kind of what's going on in their lives a little bit through, family relations, saying, hey, this is going on, that's going on. But, I kind of know I've got a good gauge on their willingness to listen, as well as, they're cold enough to cut me the hell off when they're like, all right, that's enough. So,
Terry, you're good at not taking no for an answer.
Well, a lot of practice.
What do you think about this? What do you do when somebody says, especially from your point of view, because you're out there hustling work all the time, man, and you're hustling work with the best of them. What do you do when somebody says, "Fuck you, I'm not ready yet. Call me back." Like, what's some advice you have?
Well, that's happened a million times in what I do and what I've done for years. The first thing, I guess, is my instinct kicks in, and I want to find out why they said no. I mean, what lever did I not pull to get their attention or get them to want to proceed or keep going through this? So I try to, and it depends on the situation. Face-to-face, phone, what your logistics are to handle that, if you can handle it immediately, or you have, if you're lucky enough to have a second go at it. But it kind of swings back around to that preparation. I mean, have your answers, be ready for the objections, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And, know your stuff, know what you're going in with, have, have that exit ramp always available to you. So if you are hit this way, you can go that way. That you do have some maneuverability there, and not just throwing a song and dance. I mean, give good have good quality content, a good quality response, and something that just sounds reasonable and answers whatever they throw at you. But there's a reason they're going to say no. Either again, it could be a lack of confidence. It could be that. Do they just sense that you don't trust in yourself of what you're telling them or what you're putting out there? So it's sort of that whole combination of everything. And if you're able to not have to go in there and I don't know if make apologies is the right way to do it, but go in and be able to sell it confidently, that just like you would buy it yourself. And again, be prepared to bob and weave some, because you're going to have to.
Yeah. And, I think Michael actually made a phenomenal point earlier that we never really touched on, is that, and I know Michael has done this with me countless times, and I know that Grieco has helped me with this countless times. Whenever I have certain meetings, you don't just want to practice your pitch. You don't just want to get your pitch down, right? Like in a mirror. You want a hostile environment. Because you have to think that you are walking into a hostile environment. You are walking into somebody's wallet and trying to leave with money. That is a hostile environment.
Yeah, that's true.
So when you're prepping, you want people who are going to interrupt you, who are going to say like shitty stuff, who are going to literally interrupt you and say, that's the stupidest fucking idea I ever heard.
What else you got?
Right. Yeah.
What else you got? And
yeah.
I have something. One time I was in a meeting, we pitched. The guy goes, what else you got? And I started just spinning with a friend of mine. We were pitching. And then he got distracted by looking at his sock. I mean, literally, he was at his shoe and his sock, and we're pitching. And then we're going, okay, I don't even know if he's listening to us. And he goes, that's really good. Can you give me a treatment on that? And we're like, what did we just say? I mean, we walked out of there. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Absolutely. But what else you got is like the worst one, man. It's terrible, especially like when it's like 4 or 5 of them in a row, and you're like, oh, I got this, man. I got like 6 things, and you get through them all, and they're like, what else? And you're out. And then you're out, and you're like, oh, fuck. Well, I got this thing about this drive the school bus, and and then they're like, oh, that's really interesting.
And then the kid blows up. You want to buy it?
And you're like, oh my god, this sucks.
Well,
yeah. So practice in hostility. That's it.
Practicing hostility. I like that. That was one of my following questions. Is like, what, like, let's say you get to an actual investor meeting, someone who's doesn't have any connection to you at all. Say I got a meeting. I'm over here. If I got a meeting through Grieco or something like that, and like, hey, I know this guy through this network, and here I am suddenly with somebody who's like got no connection whatsoever. Then setting that real expectation is hostile ass environment. That's probably what I'm looking for right there. I was also going to basically go through. Let's see. Really is, how are you? Is there a specific network of people to reach out to? I guess, any of the following individuals would be great for an investor, but is there a specific direction that is recommended in old school Hollywood, or, hey, indie family, this is a link, this is a direction for an investor, go this way? I'm not sure.
I would say no.
No. One thing is that there's, you said old school Hollywood, and I mean that brings up either the
network, I suppose. Like,
but I mean it brings up the silent era, the golden age of Hollywood, the studio up until they made French Connection. Then a lot of things changed. Then people wanted to go on location, and then there's a lot of old school Hollywood. Decades, as it were. And if you look back, you have to figure out the landscape you're in. What is your environmental awareness? 7 years ago, or 8, something like that, Netflix was nothing. Now it's virtually everything. And that's such a quick turnaround. Now there's no theatrical since January. So you have where are the revenues coming in? So you have to actually, I'd say, number one, what's the environment you're in? Number one. Number two, the person you're pitching to, you have to do a lot of research. I was pitching to people more interested in television in Europe. I go to Paris a number of times a year. I've been there like 40 times. I work with him because of the Taken movies with Luc Besson, etc. And so I'm keenly interested in French television, in German, Italian television. In fact, I made some connections there before. 2 shows, Gomorrah and another one, which are mob shows, really became these huge worldwide hits. And before there was Narcos, and before there was what's the Money Heist out of Spain. I mean, you know, foreign television was derided. Occasionally you get a blip here or there, but now it's actually taken quite a lead. So what's the interest of the person you're pitching? If you're pitching romantic comedies and they are looking, like Richard was saying, you know, it's about the genre and what people want to buy internationally, you have a different, you know, you're pitching against the wrong scenario. That's not their specialty. And so getting that research too also allows you to take your project and fit it in to the right landscape, a smaller landscape, right? It's not the broad film landscape, but you're pitching to the right person who's already receptive because they look for action or science fiction or romantic or whatever the notion is. Yeah. So, and the big twist in Hollywood is, hey, we want something original, but it should be like this. Mm-hmm. And in which case you're faced with the conundrum of familiarity, new twist. And much like, there was some project I was talking to somebody about, and I go, God, that's like, that show is just like, I saw this show out of Australia called Wanted. And it's these 2 women, they're at a bus stop. Car comes around the corner, crashes in the bus stop. Car comes up right after them, gets out. They kill the guy in the first car, and they're basically corrupt cops stealing drug money from this guy. So these 2 women go on the lam, and they don't know each other. One's very proper, anal retentive, germophobic, and the other's a bit more older and like kind of rough and ready, on the lam herself anyway. And we've seen that story. It's called The Fugitive. So they just happen to put 2 women together that are different. So now you got a buddy comedy. And I thought it was a really well done show. It also had a lot of heart.
Yeah.
So there's a different way to configure things now. And I think you have to look through, and I could send some links here, but people should be looking at Television Business International. You should be looking at Real Screen West. You should be, have these subscriptions that come in your inbox. You go, oh, France Television just got a new director. Oh, Colombia is ramping up their production. Vietnam has gotten bigger. I just spoke to somebody in Thailand about a Gerard Butler movie I'm supposed to budget. There's some stuff in Romania. I've talked to somebody in Romania about insurance and other issues on this other project. Mm-hmm. So the world is a big place to find your spot. You just have to narrow the gauge so that when you are pitching, it's receptivity and people feel comfortable that you've already done the homework to know that, hey, that kid knows my stuff. That's great.
Yeah, no, I think I got a really good gauge on what the next stage is for that. Basically, environmental awareness, understanding what I'm pitching to, and find the direction and go find the people. So
yeah, it takes a lot of work, but you can also make connections with people on LinkedIn. There's an art to it where you feed, go, hey, there's a great article. Check this out. Get on their radar. They become familiar. And there's people I've done that to for years just because I think they're fascinating people. They're dynamic entrepreneurs in media. And we've changed articles. I haven't asked them for a thing. If you just go, hey, how you doing there? Can I pitch you my shit? Not really receptive, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But if it might take a little time, but genuine human authenticity and interest in me or anybody as a person is the most compelling equation you can put in front of somebody.
Yep. Agreed.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be rude. We got one more person in the green room, and we're starting to run out of time. So,
Okay. Thanks for coming on, Steve.
absolutely, Steve. Thank you.
Obviously, we can all keep talking.
Oh,
So,
yeah, you don't have any shy people here, do you?
Paul,
It's
give
better-
me a nod if you're ready to
I
come
can
up.
understand when it's like 5. It's funny because when we're in the group, I can't do it.
oh, the more people are on screen, the more audio issues you're having.
Yeah, hearing like it sounds like I'm underwater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you sound good now.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring Paul up right now. Paul,
Oh, no,
how
you-
are you this evening?
You guys,
Hey guys, how are you?
Hey, Paul, how are you?
Good. Great to be on the show. I appreciate it very much.
Oh man, thank you for watching and coming on, man.
Absolutely. I've been watching all night.
Awesome. What's going on, man?
Well, I just wanted to mention really quick, thanks to the Indie Brigade mentor program, I was on the phone not too long ago with Mr. Mandaville for a couple hours talking about a pilot that I've been trying to get off the ground. Michael, I hope you remember that.
Oh, of course I do. Good to see you.
Okay. And hey, what's up, Ron? And I just wanted to pick everybody's brain for a moment about this, the strange time that we're going through right now in terms of COVID and everything. And, I feel that I'm calling it I think what we have coming is a content drought. That's sort of the way that I've been looking at it, in terms of, things are going to be slowing way down.
Mhm.
And I wonder if, independent filmmakers such as myself might have an opportunity there to, get their foot in the door a little bit more than they would under normal circumstances.
That's an interesting question, and we've talked a little bit about this. And and it's interesting because all three of us, all four of us, all five of us, all of us have talked about this. Actually, I'm thinking about individual conversations I've had with everybody on screen, as well as some group conversations. And I think that this is actually almost an easier time, right? There's no scary conference rooms right now.
Right.
There's no big logos. There's no parking lots and lines of Ferraris you have to walk past to get into a building, and security that you have to check in with. And there's no intimidating factors out there. If you're going to reach for it and really try to pitch some people that you may have always been sort of maybe intimidated to pitch a little bit, whether that be a big company, whether that be a big producer or a big whoever, or what, now is the time, because the playing field this thing has leveled the playing field. You can get direct connections with people.
Because the playing.
What happened? That was really weird. I just heard my echo like 10 seconds later. Though you can get into rooms you couldn't get into before. People are doing their own business now, right? There's no wall of assistance. There's no wall of anything. All you have to do is just figure out how to get to the person. And odds are, the experience I've had is that more people are more prone to hop on a Zoom call with people nowadays through COVID than before.
And I think the interesting thing is, unfortunately, we might be at the very beginning of this, because we've had stuff coming out up until this point, but at some point it's going to slow way down. And I feel like, networks and streaming services at some point are really going to be scrounging for extra content.
I agree with that as well. Does anybody else here have any thoughts on this?
I've had continued conversations with, in fact, a very big call with insurance companies, because no insurance, no bond, no bond, no bank, no bank, no sales, no finance. So that's the basic equation for any film outside.
Sorry, Michael, for some reason I can't hear you.
No? Can you hear me? No? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, Paul, are you using an Apple product?
I am.
Refresh the screen.
Yeah, I'm having.
Refresh the screen. Well, if worst case scenario, I can always listen to the playback later.
We'll see if you can hear him now since you're refreshed.
So can you hear me now, Paul?
Go ahead.
Okay. So essentially, I had extensive calls with insurance
Sorry.
companies. And
No, sorry.
All right. Well,
It's okay.
we'll let him answer, and then you're gonna have to hit it on the replay.
Perfect.
So there
Appreciate
you go.
it.
so essentially, I had a lot of calls with insurance companies as well as the bond companies. And as I said, no insurance, no bond, no bank, no finance, no sales. So I agree with you that there is going to be far less content in the pipeline. I personally think this is going to go on for the better part of 6 months to a year, just given what I can see as the trajectory for it. I also think that, as anticipated, it's going to be between 20 and 30% increase, as we talked before with Cameron here about the cost for implementing COVID protocols. The COVID protocols mean that narrow that amount between 15, 20, 30% tops that allows you that moment of that little piece of equity to make the film now has just increased. But what has decreased is theatrical possibilities, certainly DVDs. Now it's streaming or free television. So essentially you have increased cost, but decreased opportunity for making the film. So I think that a lot of indies, and I just talked to a pretty good sized company today that I've worked for, to shoot overseas because that allows cheaper costs to implement the protocols as well. I definitely agree. There's going to be, I think, a dearth of content, and I think they're going to have to re-examine some of the structural components with the unions to say, how do you do this cheaper without minimum staffing and other things if you don't need that? As things shifted from traditional TV into streaming, now it's streaming is mainstream. It used to be avant-garde. Now it's completely streaming is mainstream. And cord cutting is between 24.4 to 13.6% of all the cable companies are getting their declines. Now they're just managing a decline. It's unquestionable they're going to decline. It's managing the decline. It's not like reverting to the mean. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to do things for a price. So that's why Indie Brigades, when it's thinking doing things for a price, then excess makes a lot of sense. I think, you know, it's kind of like you could do your project, be ready for the pitch, and if you make a feature, have some part of your feature cut into a trailer for the next sequel. You got to kind of, you know, maybe that's an angle. If you shoot a series, and I just did a series called Beer Pong Coach. You know, it's meant to be just this nutty ass thing like Workaholics and whatever. But I started writing up what's season 2. Season 2 is we go to a training facility because we got to focus. Well, it's the pandemic. So we're going to put ourselves in a facility to focus on our skills. So, you know, it's having that answer, having that pitch for excitement beyond, enthusiasm beyond what you're working on.
I think what there seems to be a common theme with a lot of the advice that all of us have had tonight, which is momentum. Keep your momentum going. You
Absolutely.
know, keep your momentum going. Keep your enthusiasm going. Know your shit. Know where you're going. And, you know, it used to be if you pitched a series, the first thing somebody would say to you would be like, well, that's great. Great idea. Love the pilot. Love the idea for season 1. But then, you know, it used to be what's the next 3 seasons? And then that turned into what's the next 5 seasons. And now, you know, now you have to have a Bible written for the showrunners. So, I mean, like, I've watched that pitch evolve over my life. So
Yeah.
just be ready, man. Just be ready for the future. Be ready to pivot. And, you know, people are doing things for a price. And because there is going to be sort of a dead space in content for a while, that's going to provide a lot of opportunity for the indie world. That stuff is going to have to meet a certain level of expectation for people who are going to be buying up the indie content. So, you know, and make sure that you stick around here, because a lot of the stuff we talk about is how to increase that production value as well. So I hope that answered your question, Paul.
Absolutely, and I will definitely go back and listen to Michael's answer. Like I said, I talked to him on the phone for 2 hours about a lot of this stuff, so I know he always gives great advice, and I appreciate everybody very much.
Absolutely, we appreciate you too, Paul. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We're coming up on the end here, so I think we got to wrap this up.
I got to hit one more question, if I may, because Brandon was going to pop on, but I thought he was. But he had one question for you guys that went unanswered. A question for George, Richard, and Michael. How long do you usually wait to follow up after a pitch meeting or after submitting a package to a potential investor?
Well, that's the old question from Swingers, isn't it?
Is that another episode question, or is that something that can be spoken out in like 2 minutes?
No, that's like, how long do you wait to text or call after a first date, right? I mean, it's the same thing.
Yes.
That's not far off, I dare say. One thing is, I think
No, it's not.
if you can, I think momentum is a very important thing, and Cameron and I have talked about that in terms of writing. And I don't understand why people take like 6 years to write a script. I mean, I think the best thing is what a friend of mine always called it. He goes, look, you have idea, outline. Cameron and I have different ways of working, but one way or the other, my friend always said, what I'm going to do is vomit on the page. And there, but when I use the language with intentional meaning, because it allows you to just get this out of your system, but at the same time, your expectation is low, but your momentum is so high, because you say, and I always call it, now I'm making clay to work with. I got no clay with a blank page. You give me 100 pages that I've typed out, not good. I'm like unhappy with some, but now I've got clay to move the parts around. And the same thing applies with this pitch. When you go to a pitch meeting or give somebody a package, ask them, you go, should I follow up within 2 weeks, or give you a call next week or the week after? And give them a couple options. But now they've said, oh, yeah, give it 2 weeks. Or they might say, I'll be out of town for 3 weeks, so call me in a month. I mean, maybe they, but now they've got it in their head, and you're not intrusive.
Mm-hmm.
And set it before you walk out the door if you can. That way it's honoring their interests as well, and you've been considerate.
Wow, you are nicer than I am, Michael.
Well, maybe on the first go around.
I used to do that, and people would say, oh, follow up with me next month. Hit me up in June. And I'd be like, and then it becomes this waiting period. Now I'm like, fuck that. I'll email you after 3 days. Be like, hey, remember that meeting we had 3 days ago? Where are you at?
Yeah. I could see Cameron just taping a few road flares under somebody's car. Answer my call.
So I hope that answers your question, man. Grieco, can you hear me?
Pretty good. Yeah.
Can you hear? How long do you wait after a pitch before you follow up with somebody?
I mean, I'm like 2 or 3 days, but yeah, it's all about the people and the person. If you're comfortable, and all about what happened in the room or what happened on a Zoom call. If they look like, because a lot of times they'll go, look, I'll get back to you in 2 days. This is really.
Uh-oh.
first person to call. I like them to call me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if they call, I'll make sure I don't answer the first time. You know what I mean? And then I'll call them back. If they call like at 11:30 on a Thursday, maybe I'll call like on a 5:30 on a Friday back. You know what I mean? Just so I don't look like you don't look like you're like. And you got to look at it like this way, that, you know, they need me as much as I need them. You know, I mean, that's how you got to look at it. It could be right, it could be wrong, but that's how I looked at it all the time. And just think the stuff you have is the best thing that's out there. I mean, you know, going back to, I won't go into that one, the Booker thing, but I mean, that's a brand already, and we could sell it. And it's just getting the fucking rights, the Booker from fucking Fox.
Right.
And if I had that, I'd be shooting probably a month and a half.
Yeah.
But that's but there's ways to go about it. I mean, you know, but with I wait like 3 days, and I don't be a nuisance. And if they say no, then I say, you know, I don't. Once they say no, I don't go back at all. I mean, fuck them.
Yeah, you fuck them. You just move on. Well, I hope that answered your question from all three of our perspectives. We got to wrap this up. We are 10 minutes away from the end of the night. So, guys, Richard, Michael, Terry, I cannot thank you enough, guys, for joining. Terry, I thought there were some people said they were going to come on with some drone questions for you. I wish they would have shown up with some drone questions for you tonight, pal. But I love that you chimed in on the stuff you chimed in on, and I think you offered some really, really great insight. So thank you, brother, for coming on tonight, man.
I'll be in touch with Terry because I got some drone questions for him at some point. So
yeah,
awesome.
I'm standing by.
Oh yeah.
Richard, thank you so much for joining us tonight and for your insight as always.
Thanks,
brother.
guys.
I love you.
Thank you, Richard. Joe,
You guys, thanks for having me.
Cameron.
Thanks, guys.
Michael, thank you so much as always, brother. I will
All right,
talk
my
to
friend.
you guys in the next day or so.
You got it. Sounds
All right.
great.
See ya.
All right. So in about
Oh, you just surprised me like that.
Well, that's the best way. How you doing?
No, no heads up. No.
you were
David, heads up.
Yes. I'm going to warn everybody tonight before you watch my show. I'm having a particularly bad hair night.
Me too.
I just was watching George's show, and I realized that I need to get a baseball cap so that I could fit in with everybody.
I know where you can get one.
Yeah.
I don't wear one.
Really?
I have. Yeah, no.
Wow, great show. Unbelievable show, George. And you know what's funny? When I watch you guys, I wonder how I ever make movies that actually sell even one copy. It just blows my mind.
It was a lot of fun tonight. I love those guys, and I think everybody had some really interesting insight into some stuff tonight. So, and I love all the different perspectives. There were some questions that didn't get answered. I saw somebody asked if we would list the books. Daniela asked if we would list the books. We will get that information from Michael and post it. I'll tell you, if Michael tells you to read a book, read it.
As long as it's a comic book, and I'll be okay. I need pictures, and I need less than like 500 words, and I'm in.
Hey, did you see this yet, David? Like, check this out. Look, that's one of the first pencils from the Cold Dead War #1.
You know, I'm going to zoom in on that every time you bring it up, right?
Awesome.
I could only show it for like a split second, so. But I just started getting some pencils of the Cold Dead War issue #1. So
I'm glad that you actually cut to George's artwork, because people would have seen me like, what is he showing me? Because I could.
So I'm really excited. The whole process has been one of the most exciting things in my entire career so far. So it's been
awesome,
phenomenal, yeah. But you know what? Enough about me, because your show's coming up in 8 minutes, and you got a hell of a show tonight.
Yes, we have the lovely and talented Ming Chen from Comic Book Men, and from the Mike and Ming show that everybody watches online. And I assure you, we'll have some surprise guests tuning in too.
Awesome.
All right. I'm going to drop you down, David. I do apologize because we got to wrap this up, and I will see you in 8 minutes, apparently.
All right. George, if you want to stop by, be my guest.
Awesome. Joe has to.
All right, bro. See you guys in a bit.
All right.
Oh, Joe has to what?
See?
Well, it's because, you know, I drink 24-ounce cup with a 16-ounce. Anyway. You all right?
Yeah. I was just singing about your 16-ounce bladder. That was a good show tonight. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I hope everybody really enjoyed and got some good knowledge out of that. Michael is chiming in. I want to thank all those who watched and participated in the show. I was trying
I brought that up.
a bit challenging. So there you go. Again, many thanks to Terry, many thanks to Richard, and many thanks to Michael. And, a couple thanks to you, Joe. I love you, buddy.
I appreciate that.
You know I love you.
Love you a long time.
So, are you ready?
I'm ready for next week already, man. I already know what's going on there.
Yeah, next week's going to be fun, too. So, stay tuned, everybody. Are you ready, Joe?
Damn, he's not even going to give a hint of a teaser. That friggin' sucks.
Nope.
Do it to it.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Romero Pictures Heavy Metal Indie Brigade tonight. I hope you all had as much fun as I did, and I hope you all had way more fun than Joe had. As usual, fuck off till next time. To be an indie means we buck a system that doesn't want us. To be a fringe filmmaker means we don't do it for them. We do it for ourselves. To be an outlaw on the fringe means we'll die before we fail. Be an outlaw.
There you go. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
You realize that every time you ask if I can hear you now, I'm shaking my head, right?
Oh, so you can hear me. That was very, very, very cold and mean-spirited, Mr. Ridgely.
I do apologize.
All those wonderful things I was going to start the show with, that I was going to say about you, I'm now going to rescind.
How are you, David?
I am a little out of sorts tonight, but otherwise I'm fine. Got a little bit of like a sinusy headache. You know, I'm getting old, Joe. That's the sad part.
Old is a state of mind.
No, with me, it's really this morbid mind fella he's kind of morbid, actually. Hello, morbid mind. I hope you're well. And you're driving David to his wit's end. I see what you did there. So, how are you, Mr. Ridgely?
I am well, thank you. I see both of your. We've got two people in the green room right now, just so you know.
Oh, okay. So my first guest is already with us, right? Okay, yeah. we'll get to him in a few moments. Ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, my guest tonight is the lovely and talented Mr. Ming Chen. You probably know him from AMC's hit television show, The Comic Book Man, or you might know him from his unbelievable viral stardom as on the View Askew network shows like the Mike and Ming Show, and he's just an all-around great guy. But we'll get to Ming in a few moments. Yes, is Mr. Schiaffo around?
He is. Mr. Schiaffo, are you available?
Can we get Uncle Scott up?
There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, a man that needs no introduction, one of our co-hosts and friends of the show, Uncle Scott Schiaffo. Mr. Schiaffo, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing tonight? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
I was waiting for David to reply.
No, I mean, I was waiting for Joe to reply because, you know,
you guys, well, you got a sinus headache?
The international man of mystery. He's like,
yeah. Just little subtle head nods. I don't know if he's hearing anything.
Yep. So Scott, our movie's been out a week ago today.
Yes.
We're getting some reviews. We're getting some news from the distributing company. So things are looking good. What do you think?
Well, I want to congratulate you, sir, because it has been a pretty exciting week with the first week of video on demand. You've gotten some wonderful reviews, as well as a lot of nice reaction from film fans, not just art critics or film critics who've written some really wonderful things. And that's just icing on the cake from, getting the film out and feeling good about it is one thing. And then getting a positive reaction is, just glorious. You can't ask for more than that. So it's been a really wonderful week in that regard. So congrats to you, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. I couldn't have done it without the unbelievable talents of Mr. Scott Schiaffo. And of course, the other guy, I can't remember his name. I want to thank Sean Smithson, who wrote that he has watched Wit's End 3 times now. Thank you, Sean. You have impeccable taste. And Scott, our guest tonight, Mr. Ming Chen, I heard you have a very, very interesting story about Mr. Chen. About how you first met, was it?
Well, we were talking. Yeah, I spoke to you earlier in the week. The very first time I got to meet Ming in person is quite a long time ago, and I'm going to say it was early 2000s, mid 2000s tops. It was Kevin was doing a sold out night at the Count Basie, one of his Q&A shows or evening withs. It was the first one I got to attend ever. And we went down and made a day of it because I'm from up north New Jersey. So to go down to Red Bank, went down early so we could eat. And you want to stop by the stash, say hello to everybody who's there, check out all the really cool merch that's always at the stash. And, say hello to Walt Flanagan. And I think Brian Johnson might have been there as well. And I don't think I knew Michael Zapsik then. This is how far back we're going. And I hadn't met Ming in person at that point, although Ming had been doing the web site for quite a while, and he was nice enough to include. I had a website I was running in the late '90s, early 2000s, Chuli's Gum Guy, to promote myself as an actor, and Ming was nice enough to connect that website to the miscellaneous links of the official Clerks website, which was really sweet. But anyway, we're down at the stash before the Red Bank show, and I connected with Ming, and he said, "Yeah, are you going to the Basie show?" And I said, "Yes." And a little while later, I met him back up in the store, and he had made a really nice lanyard name placard for me that had my name, AKA the Chuli's Gum Guy, for me to wear the placard to the Basie for the event, which I thought was like the sweetest, most thoughtful thing possible. I mean, he's that kind of guy. And since we're talking since that point in time, 7 seasons is one of the stars of the AMC show, and Ming has become what you would call an impresario of podcasting. He's got the Zoom sponsorship thing, which is very cool because gear is important to me. I'm a geek. So I mean, the guy's awesome, and he plays into the View Askew universe. He looms quite large in the legacy of the whole View Askew world, especially the online part. So I'm looking to kick back. I'm going to be getting out of here soon and just watching and listening. And he's a sweet dude, man.
Well, I mean, I've been blessed to know Ming now for, I think, maybe 5 to 7 years. He did one of my conventions, and he's just a wonderfully great stand-up guy. Mr. Schiaffo, thank you as always. If you're around towards the end of the show, please pop on.
Oh, I'll be here, man. I'll be watching. You guys have a great one.
Thank you, Mr. Schiaffo. Thank you, Uncle Scott. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the great Scott Schiaffo, Uncle Scott, as he's known on this show, or as Tom in Wits End. He really kind of steals the movie. He's hysterical. Yeah. Well, without further ado, let me introduce our first guest of the evening. Again, you probably know him from AMC's hit television show, The Comic Book Men, or from all his wonderful viral platform shows. A major star within the View Askew universe, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ming Chen.
What's up, everybody? David, Joe, thank you very much. As I love to tell everybody, all the good stories come at the end of the night.
Oh, there you go. I think I'm going to steal that. Actually,
it's yours, my friend. It's yours. Good to see you guys.
It's good to see you, Ming. And Ming, I know I'm going to bore our audience for the next 5 minutes, but I know you're a big baseball fan.
Yes.
So what happened to your Orioles tonight? It was close. It was only 13-2.
Yeah, I've got no expectations. You know what a rebuilding season looks like.
No, of course.
And it's a lot of pain and a lot of heartache. And for any Baltimore Orioles fans, every win is a hard-fought win that you appreciate, even though it's May and your team's out of it and there's no chance of making the playoff. This is what fandom's all about. You take the good, and oftentimes you take the bad as well. But through it all, I stick with my team, even in a 13-2 opening day loss, and I just hope for the best. Just like anything, just like we're doing right now. Like the Baltimore Orioles, it's almost like getting the coronavirus. You just gotta hope for the best, and you recover one day, right? So
that's the greatest thing about baseball. opening day, you always think your team's going to go 162-0.
Or 60-0 in this case, but
unless you're a Met fan, then you think you're going to go 0-162. Yeah. I was watching a show you were on because I catch almost everything you put up, and you were doing a show earlier today where you were opening up baseball cards, and I don't know if you know this about me, Ming. I am an enormous collector of both baseball cards and comic books. I have every Topps baseball card from 1956 to 2019. And I was going to show you just a few cards. I promise, Joe.
That's insane.
Yeah, I actually have a T211, and you'll know what that is being a baseball card.
That's insane. So you have a Carter McBroom Future Stars card somewhere in your collection. This is number 440 of Series 2 of the 2020 collection.
No, I don't. I don't have the 2020 set yet. I'm only up to 2019.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's only a matter of time.
I'm going to show you a card. You tell me your first thoughts.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yes, I see that. Where did you that would appear to be a Nolan Ryan rookie card right there.
It's a Nolan Ryan rookie card, gem mint condition.
Which is crazy. I think I guess most collectors these days would be like, "Hey, you should go get that PSA graded." But no, I don't know where you got that, when you got that. I'm sure you have a great story behind it. That's pretty amazing.
I was actually like an Arab sheik back in the 80s. I would go to flea markets and people would be selling their collections from like the 50s and 60s, and they'd want like $10 for a shoebox. And I would be like, "Pardon me, sir, but I only have $5. Can I please have your 1952 mantle?" Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff that how about this bad boy?
Where did you get a Duke Snider? What year is that from? 50?
This is a 64 New York Mets Duke Snider.
Right.
So
you're bringing up memories for any old timers out there. There used to be a TV show. I believe it ran during prime time, or I don't know when, maybe on Sunday afternoons, called Home Run Derby.
Oh, yes, yeah.
They would take like Willie Mays versus Mickey Mantle, and they would throw them in a ballpark. I think it was somewhere near LA, and they would play Home Run Derby. It was 1-on-1, head-to-head Home Run Derby, and whoever hit the most home runs by the end, I think they won money because they needed money.
And before the show, they would actually interview the two guys, and they were always the most awkward interviews ever because those guys didn't know how to interview yet.
Yeah, this is before the WWF or WWE. You know, now if they did, it's like, well, you know, brother, like I'm gonna take down the Say Hey Kid, like, and it would have been, that would have been awesome. But they were very awkward interviews, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, they shot this show during off days during the season, so they were still playing, and they would never do that now, for fearing injury or throwing people off their routine or whatever. But back then, man, they were like, hey, this might be a good TV show. I wish they would bring that back somehow in some form. Could you imagine like Cody Bellinger versus Pete Alonso or
right?
Do you
remember back in the 80s they actually used to have the Home Run Derby? I remember being a Met fan in '83, and they had Dave Kingman against Gary Reedus of the Cincinnati Reds. Did you become an Oriole fan because of the '79 World Series?
I did not. I became an Oriole fan later in life. I actually grew up in Michigan, so I was a Tigers fan for a long time while I lived there. And I still maintain the '84 Tigers are the greatest team that ever lived, but I'm sure I'll get a lot of argument with that. I ended up moving to Maryland, and I don't know what it was. I fell in love with Camden Yards, the Inner Harbor, the 2005 when I became a really big fan. They were doing really well for a little bit, and then the bottom dropped out because of steroids, and Miguel Tejada. Rafael Palmeiro was the big catalyst for the downfall of that team that year. And I don't know. I've loved them ever since. I really don't know what it is. I think just Baltimore's a good baseball town, and they've always been good to me. So plus, I'm sure. Oh no, Henry Hank Aaron, everybody, the home run champion of the world. I don't really acknowledge the other guy. So
here's some cards that are now close to.
You just keep these in a pile next to your computer.
70 years old.
You're insane, man. That's pretty awesome.
I actually had the collection appraised in 2007.
Yeah.
And it was over 6 figures. So that's pretty awesome. Do you know anything about this card?
I remember that being an error.
Yes, because this one actually is an Al Leiter.
Yes.
This one is Al Leiter.
That one is not. So
yes.
And somewhere around here, I do have, and you may have it in your pile, Billy Ripken Fleer error card.
Where it says FU1 is bad?
Yes.
Here's Cal's rookie.
Yeah, wow. Look at how young he is. Oh, young Cal Ripken with hair.
You guys see what Mr. O'Halloran is saying.
It only become an Antique Roadshow when Brian shows up.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much. This is great. I love meeting like hardcore baseball fans.
Willie May, Gary Carter, rookie autograph.
Oh, wait a minute. That's not a Mets outfit.
He started out as an Expo.
Started out as an Expo.
That was
Willie Mays, 1973 World Series Mets team.
That's crazy.
The great Roberto Clemente.
Yes, one of the finest men who ever lived, for
Yes,
sure.
I will. I literally could do this for hours with you, Ming. So I will not bore our audience with my baseball
man, I
card
could
collection.
literally do this for hours as well.
You should come up to a barbecue. I'll show you my 52 mantle. I'll show you my Honus Wagner. And
wow. Well, good on you, my friend. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I've officially met the guy with the coolest baseball card collection. There's no bar none. I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody who's got a better collection than that. So,
my luck, my house will get struck by lightning tonight, and it'll be
let's
gone.
not let like that. Not only would that devastate you, it would devastate me as well. So yeah.
So you're world renowned as being one of the great comic book minds in the country. So I'm going to show you a couple comic books and tell you if you have any first thoughts.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So yeah, so you got comics as well. Which,
yeah. I have every Amazing Spider-Man from 1 to 256.
Holy crap. That's amazing. That's awesome.
Can you tell me anything about this particular comic? Spider-Man 77.
That which issue is that?
It's number 77.
77. The Human Torch, there's a lizard. What key issue? I want to know how you got that.
I think that's the very first appearance of the Human Torch.
I believe you are right. You are correct, sir. That is.
And this one, you might know.
That's holy crap. That's Luke Cage, my friend.
That is the very first appearance of Luke Cage in Spider-Man number 133.
Yes. So and then 4 issues before that, you probably have that Spider-Man 129 for his Punisher.
Yes, and then Kraven was like the first Kraven appearance was right around then.
Yeah, which we need to see in a movie soon.
Just because I want to be fair, here's a DC, one of the most famous issues of Superman.
That's amazing. So you're Marvel DC, like you don't discriminate.
No, I actually have these. I thought were kind of interesting. Do you remember the old Gold Key comic books that were from like the Twilight Zone?
Yeah, Twilight Zone. They did Green Hornet. They did a lot of they were kind of like the Dynamite licensing everything. Oh, that's awesome.
Man from Uncle.
That's amazing.
This comic is now almost 70 years old. Roy Rogers.
That I don't know if we'll be seeing any. I don't know if we'll see the rise of the Western anytime soon. Not like that.
What do you think when you see this one? I'm curious. It's not very old, but it's back from when we were kids.
Yes, I think of my childhood. That's what I think of.
Symbiote.
Yes, and I think of drugstore spinner racks that they don't really have anymore.
And back when they used to write on the cover the date that they were supposed to take it off the rack, and it would be like, it was very, very annoying. Here's, I think, the very first Kraven the Hunter.
That's it. Yep, that's amazing. That's so cool. So you're a big Spider-Man fan, obviously.
Yeah, I was a big Marvel guy. I'll stop with all my goofy stuff. I always wanted to hang out with you and show you all this kind of stuff because it was fun.
That's part of the fun of being collecting. It's like, oh, hey, check, you might be interested in this, and you pull out, a lightsaber or a pulse rifle from Aliens or something, or a Freddy glove or something like that.
I always wanted to come on the show because for years and years I was looking for a Duke the Action Dog. and Robert Bruce had told me that he was going to dig up a Duke the Action Dog, but
yes, you would have been great. I don't know why we never had you on.
It's okay. Nobody loves me, Ming. It's quite all right.
Oh, I know a lot of people love you. I know that for a fact. Well, if we ever come back, we'll be
Speaking of which,
yes,
are you guys coming back?
I've heard nothing. So, if you watch Comic Book Man, we had 7 glorious seasons, 96 fun-filled, action-packed episodes full of stars and comics and vintage toys and ball busting and orange Speedos and all kinds of wacky stuff. And then, I guess like almost every TV show except for The Simpsons, we got canceled. And it pained me because I was like, man, I felt as long as there were toys and comics and As long as pop culture existed, I felt that we could have gone on forever. You know, that I wanted to be 87 years old and still trying to haggle over a transformer or something. And yeah, I am, and a lot of people are like, well, why did you get canceled? I'm like, I'm sure it had to do with money somewhere, not my money, but you know, investors, stock portfolios. I don't know. All this stuff is out of my control. And you know, just one day they're like, hey, we're not going to do it anymore. And it saddened me. It pained me. Where else can you go and hang out at a comic book shop with 3 or 4 of your idiot friends, and they put it on TV? Yeah. So, but ever since that we shot that last frame, people have been asking, it's like, hey, you coming back? You coming back? They're always bringing stuff back, right? Have you heard anything? I'm like, no, sadly, I haven't. I heard, you know, right after, you know, they kind of shopped it around maybe to Netflix and Amazon, and I guess they haven't been interested yet. So, however, we live in a day and age where like the Karate Kid can come back, and Full House, and Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks came back after 20 some odd years. So you never know. And I'm almost thinking, you know, with all the weirdness going on right now and production stopping all over, that when it does ramp up, I'm sure they're going to need content, cheaply made content at that. And I don't think our show costs that much to make. So I know I didn't demand that. I didn't have a high, lofty demand. So I don't know. Who knows? I'm ready to go if they gave me that call right now. I would go tomorrow for sure and get my balls busted again. But it's all part of the fun.
That show was an unbelievable amount of fun. It was actually informative too, if you were a fan of like toys or memorabilia. Out of you were on for 7 years, correct?
Yeah, 7 seasons.
Yeah. On those 7 seasons, you had a who's who of guests come on. Can you share maybe 1 or 2 guests that came on that really blew your mind, that you were super juiced to meet, and that were super awesome when you got when they actually came on?
Absolutely. First and foremost, the god of all gods, the guy who created worlds and launched everything. The guy who, if he did not exist, we would not be talking to each other. Mr. Stan the Man Lee came in not once but twice on our show, and each time it was a huge honor. But the first time he came in, it was as if God walked through the door. And to me, it did. It looked like that. He was all backlit by the sun. And I swear I heard angels or something as he walked through, but it was pretty cool. He was dressed in his trademark khaki outfit with the sunglasses. And and Stan Lee, the god of all gods, came in. And I in particular, of course, we all know, I was like, well, you're very lucky, which I am. But I felt we were lucky because we got to spend about 3 to 4 hours with him that day. We ate lunch with him. We asked him all our stupid questions that he answered, and I remember like, hey, Mr. Lee, would you mind signing, maybe 1 or 2 items for us? And of course, that little stack grew to like a huge stack, and he didn't hesitate. He went down and he signed everything that we wanted him to sign, and that was pretty awesome. And not only that, but now it's documented on a TV show. There are photos of me and him. So my 100 years from now, my great grandkids are like, yeah, man, my great grandfather once hung out with Stan Lee, and they'll pull it up on their retina or something, however you watch TV in 100 years. And I think that'll be pretty cool for sure.
Your own personal archive.
Yeah, exactly. And somebody mentioned in the comments, we got the great Adam West to come on the show, and Lance Wagner, thank you. And not only that, but we put him up to a challenge. I may have insulted him by saying that the Black Beauty was the better crime fighting car than the Batmobile, and we may have drag raced the 2 cars on a public road just to prove a point. And that ended up becoming an episode. So
you have to tell everybody where the Black Beauty is from.
Oh, from Green Hornet.
Green Hornet, yes.
It was driven by the great Bruce Lee, who played Kato, and they were kind of sister shows. They existed in the same universe and produced by many of the same people. So didn't find the same success as Batman did, but I always thought that Black Beauty car was the better, like crime fighting. You're gonna fight crime. I want that Black Beauty. That's the car I would have taken. I love the Batmobile. Don't get me wrong, but I was like, well, do they have to label everything? I was like, so you don't get confused what's what. So that was and Adam West couldn't have been a nicer guy. It's like when your childhood walks through the door of the place where you work, then things are going pretty well. So, and somebody just mentioned Ralph Macchio from Karate Kid. He came in and he gave me an official lesson on how to wax on, wax off. He was like, no, you're using the wrong hand to start off with. It's wax on, wax off. Big circles. I was like, oh yeah.
You have no idea how lucky you are to be one of those men who were taught to whack off by Ralph Macchio. It's amazing.
Sure. Whack on, whack off. Yes. Jack it on, jack it off. Yes.
Do you remember on Batman, Ming? I'm sorry, Joe.
From my hometown, Huntington, Long Island.
Nice.
Oh, sweet. Ming, do you remember on Batman when Batman and Robin were climbing up the side of a building?
Yes.
And the Green Hornet and Kato opened up?
Yeah, every so often, it seemed like maybe every other episode they would have the building gag, I think they called it. And they're walking up the building and some luminary of the time would pop up. I think, I'm trying to remember who else was on there. It's a pretty good trivia question. If you can name most of the people who did the window pop up.
It's funny.
Famous people.
I think you can. There's on YouTube. Somebody actually put every single. I think Liberace was one of them. Oddly enough.
Yes, Liberace. I believe definitely was one of them.
That's back when television actually was interesting and was television.
Yeah, before people discovered that they really just wanted to watch 24 hours of train wrecks.
Yes,
being train wrecks. That's what TV is now. So
and 20 minutes an hour of commercials.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then we had two of the stars from the original Star Wars universe came in, which Billy D. Williams came in.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't bring any Colt 45. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, it works every time. And Peter Mayhew, who played Chewbacca, came in, and that blew my mind, because if you sat down a 6-year-old Ming Chen and be like, hey, listen, I'm from the future and your life is going to be awesome. You know why? Because Chewbacca and Lando Calrissian are one day going to come into the place where you work, like 30 years from now. I'm like, get the hell out of here. You're not. What? Get away from me, old man. Like, yeah, stranger danger. And just probably take off running the other way. There's no way I would have believed that. And it happened. So.
And then totally doing the Chewbacca calls.
Oh yeah. We had Peter Mayhew come in. We all dressed up like Wookiees, and we had a Wookiee off. He had to judge the best Wookiee, I guess, impression, and it was like a Wookiee beauty pageant that he had to judge, and I did not win.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I mean, I think that's probably why I tried to even dabble in the entertainment industry, Ming, is like, I get phone calls from Huey Lewis now.
Yeah.
He comes over to barbecue, and I'm just like, if you told me that in 1985 when I was sitting into the theater watching, Back to the Future, I would have been like, sure,
yeah,
those type of things don't happen.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Did the rest of the news come down to barbecue with you as well?
No, it's the news are not welcome. The news have a totally separate barbecue with much lower end, especially that drummer. That drummer is just a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah, they get grade Z meat. So Brandon Ebrook, the Elvira episode was a good one. Of course, the amazing Rosario Dawson. Like, there's so many people that come on. Like, I have to think about it. It's like, it's just such a long list. But the great Cassandra Peterson came down and as Elvira and spent an afternoon with us, and that was pretty amazing. She's as every bit amazing and gorgeous as you think she is in person. So
I could imagine. And when you really think about it, I think she's approaching 70 years old.
I think when she came in, I'm like, wow, how old is she? And you look on Wikipedia or whatever, and it's like, oh, she at the time, I think she was listed at 66. But you know how these Hollywood ages go. I mean, she may be older, but she sure doesn't look or act like it. So
no, that's for sure. Well, Ming, we have somebody in the green room.
Okay,
who's a dear friend of this show, and he might have even been on the Comic Book Man show. So, Joe, can we pop on our mystery guest?
Sure.
Hey, what's going on? I all I see here are two very happy Met fans right here. That's all I see.
The fact that you
You
own
always
this,
win opening day, and then it's downhill from there.
yeah, it's like the great Family Guy skit, and the first pitch of the season, and it's over. For the Met fan.
That jersey, the Met pinstripes look good on you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. I think the last time I wore it in person with you was at a Asbury Park Comic Con.
It was. I think it was the day after the Rangers got knocked out of the playoffs. And you're like, I'm in baseball mode now.
I
I'm like,
moved on to baseball by then, yeah. Which is weird because now here it is. We're in this hyper shortened baseball season, and the hockey playoffs are just about to start. Tomorrow is the first exhibition games, and then boom, right into the round robin.
yeah, this will. What a weird year. That's all I got to say. Like, what a weird year. Will it get weirder? Probably.
Yeah, I'm still, it was just some weird kind of bingo going on where people are like, did you have this on your bingo card? Nope. Damn it. 2020. And literally I'm thinking like 2020 is going to be a number for people to use as a curse. Get out of my face, 2020. You know what I mean? Like for years from now, like 2020 is going to be like, ugh.
Yeah, it really is like a real life Jumanji game gone horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that maybe like the show 2020 was foreshadowing this? Because at the end of every episode of and this is 2020, and the show is usually about people like being brutally murdered or cat juggling or something that was upsetting.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
messing
there's
up.
that phrase, and that hindsight is 2020. And so people, in hindsight is to look back upon something. No one's going to really want to look back upon 2020.
I was watching just the other day because I have on my satellite dish all the comic book men saved, and there was a wonderful episode where it was the cast of Clerks versus the comic book men in bowling. Can you guys share a little bit about how that episode went, and if there is really a true rivalry between the comic book men and the cast of Clerks?
I wouldn't say it was a true rivalry. I mean, I would say that it was good-natured fun. And to be honest with you, 3 of the members of the comic book men never bowled ever. I mean, so Ming was their ringer, and so we definitely had to watch out for Ming. But as for the other 3, come on. I mean, I think they put the bumpers up to Johnson.
Yeah, I did all right. Although I think Brian Johnson, the guy with the big beard, and Walt Flanagan, the manager, were in some kind of bowling league back in the early '80s. So
yeah, I think it was more of a drinking league that just so happened to happen at a bowling alley.
it might have, but yeah, I like this photo. We're like the Jets and the Sharks in this photo.
Yeah.
That's the old Asbury Lanes in Asbury Park, New Jersey. And
When you say old, are they no longer there?
they remodeled so that the old lanes which had a lot of spirit and heart no longer really exists anymore, and it kind of stinks. So it's kind of cool that we got to document our fun time there, even though we got beat by Team Clerks.
You got beat.
We got beat.
Yeah,
So
we had a last frame trade.
there was a defection, perhaps, if you want to call it that. I think that's an accurate term.
I think, as I recall, maybe Mr. Flanagan remembered that he was also a part of the Clerks team, as I recall.
He played 5 characters, for God's sakes.
Yeah, he was Clerks, except for Brian and Jeff Anderson. So yes.
Yeah, I mean, we were the Clerks. I mean, if there was a movie with just Walt, it would have been called Customers. Because that's all he did, is he played customer.
I heard he even played the steak that Scott threw up on the counter.
No, he did play the poop that came out of the cat. Give credit for him.
See, so are you telling me, Ming, that Walt bailed on you guys when he saw that the Clerks were going to win the bowling match?
That's exactly what happened, and
Saw him writing on the wall.
and we could do nothing about it. The Walt sold his team out, Brandon.
He originally was a clerk before he was a comic book man. That's all I'm saying.
Walter's selling us out all the time. We'll just put it that way. So
you guys have to tell me, how was Uncle Scott, who he's known on this show, Mr. Schiaffo, as a bowling wizard?
Scott came in a hairnet, aka aka Jesus from Big Lebowski. So you don't mess with the Jesus, and you don't come in wearing that unless you got some skills. So
did he have his own ball? Did he have like a ball that was like an eye or something?
I don't remember. I think this is a guy who can't even cross the Canadian border, so no, he did not bring his own ball. He was the bowling alley balls, the one that are all chipped and cracked up, but
he was amazing at keeping score.
Yes, he was.
That's what I love about Scott. He's just like the best. Now you did a show, Ming, at one of my favorite places in the world. In fact, in 2018, I did the very first convention that was a combination amusement park and convention at Wild West City.
Yeah, we shot an episode there, which is such a weird place. The fact that a place like that exists in 2020 or in this century even is crazy. And I remember I had never been there before because I didn't grow up in Jersey. But if you grew up in New Jersey, I think every kid went there, and every kid scraped their elbows at Action Park, and every kid saw wild animals eating their cars at Jungle Habitat. So and this is what I love about New Jersey, is that there's so much weirdness around. But I remember driving forever up to this thing that looked like a gigantic dude ranch, and meeting an old man who was really good with a whip, and fake stagecoach robberies, and I got thrown in the fake jail. It was great.
I have a sneaky suspicion that isn't the first time you met an old man who was really good with a whip, but we won't go there.
I have no comment on that.
Ming, what I honestly love about Wild West City is that I used to go there. I had my 5th birthday party there back in 1975, and there was Uncle Floyd used to be the pianist there. Uncle Floyd had a great television show in New Jersey called The Uncle Floyd Show that was kind of like what viral shows are now. It was like the hip thing that people watched that nobody really knew or talked about. It was on a channel, UHF channel 47. I don't know if you guys remember that. But what was so cool about Wild West City is that you could go there in 1975 and then show up in 2020, and it's the same exact place, the same exact toys. I think the same exact people work there, and there's an intrinsic quality to that as you grow older, as you approach middle age, to go back and literally be able to capture moments of your youth in a place that is exactly the same. And there aren't too many places like that. I think that's why Wild West City to this day is something special. Was there somebody in the Comic Book Men, or even Kevin himself, that was like a disciple of Wild West City, and that's why you guys chose to shoot there?
I think Mike I think all three of the other guys had been there before. I feel as if it was if you grew up in New Jersey, it was kind of a rite of passage where your parents would take you there, or some kid would have his birthday party there. And I think it was a little bit out of all three of them where it was like, oh dude, I think they were like, wait a minute, that place is still there? And if so, we got to go. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? There's a Wild West City in New Jersey.
It was a late night screening of Wild Wild West with Will Smith, and someone's like, that's messed up. Oh, you know what's messed up? Have you ever been to Wild West City?
Yeah.
Well, I would suggest if anybody who's
the big mechanical spider, that's damn crazy.
If anybody who's watching this show in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, or anywhere surrounding New Jersey, you owe it to yourself to check out Wild West City. It's one of those charming things that really shouldn't exist in 2020, but still does. It's just a wonderful place. Brian, you grew up in the Northeast and parts of Jersey and New York, as I know. You weren't really a Wild West City kid. You were more of like an action park guy.
Yeah, I did more camping and more action park, or as we called it, traction park. Where literally they were one of the first to have that artificial wave pool, which we called the drowning fields. You just went to put bets on who was going to drown first. And then they had that big water slide tube that did like a corkscrew and then back. I mean, even the Simpsons made fun of it when Homer got stuck in the top of the loop and they had to dismantle. I mean, that's based on Action Park. So they're coming out with a documentary actually based on Action Park. I think they're calling it like Traction Park or something like that. Because it was during the summer, it was that kind of water park. In the wintertime, it was Vernon Valley Great Gorge Ski Resort. And then when all that was done, what were they going to do with these ski lifts? I know. We're going to put this big cement kind of toboggan kind of road that you go like 1,000,000 miles an hour. And it's literally like a piece of plastic with wheels. And you had this brake that you hung on to. And you just hope that you didn't go out like one of these tobogganists, like off the thing and into hell. But the one thing Traction Park had that I've yet to find an equal to, they had the most absolutely juiced up go-karts. You literally were doing like 25 miles an hour in their go-karts, and it was awesome. Safety? No. Awesome? Yes. And they were like carbureted to where you got the full bore of straight on gasoline fumes. It was awesome. It was about getting kids high without doing drugs.
Yeah, a place like that, man, that turns boys into men, my friends, and that's what we're lacking in this country. That's why everyone's such a wuss now.
Yeah.
Now, didn't Johnny Knoxville make a movie that was kind of like a play on Action Park?
I think so.
Did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did, and they're doing a documentary, or I heard it might be a TV series. I'm not sure, but the fact that it continues to live on in infamy tickles me to no end.
Yeah, even their easiest ride, which was the Colorado River ride, where you picked up this gigantic inflated 10-person kind of round, boat, for any lack of a word, and you would have to carry it up this gigantic hill to the top to get to the top of the launch area, and then slowly ride all the way down the hill and get to the bottom. Even that was nightmarish because you didn't get on the boat up there. You had to carry the boat from the bottom of people getting it off. And then they made the customers carry the boat all the way up. Literally, it was like a little, torture camp.
Emmett Garnham wrote, "My brother worked at Fairy Tale Forest near Oak Bridge, New Jersey." I'm going to bring up Emmett to you, Ming. I don't know if you ever get up into the small town of Port Jervis, New York. It's up in the corner where New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania meet. Mr. Garnham owns a wonderful, wonderful shop called Haven for Heroes, and it's antique toys and comic books and baseball cards and sports memorabilia. Me and Brian been there many times. If you ever get up there, what?
It's a treasure trove of old stuff, especially.
Yeah. If you ever in that area, Ming, stop in, say hello to Emmett. You will love that store.
I will. I kind of want to go right now, but you listed off like everything that I love. So, well done, my friend.
Yes, he's. He says Mike Z has stopped by. So there you go.
That doesn't surprise me.
So you guys, we're all doing a show right now, a podcast. Ming, you've been doing this now for a very long time. Brian, you're getting the O'Halloran off the ground, and your show's fantastic. I want to ask you both, and I want you to take turns.
Okay.
Ming first. Ming, what do you think are the important elements to making a podcast interesting, and what makes your podcast so popular and attracts people to watching it all the time?
I guess interesting is relative, right? So, I see people talking to themselves all the time on the streets, and I think they probably think they're the most interesting people in the world. So I think what it really boils down to is just talking about the stuff that you love. That's how I started. I didn't even want to do this. It was Kevin, the great Kevin Smith, was like, "Hey, I want you and Zapsik to start a podcast. I'm starting a network. I need another show. Start a podcast." And I'm like, why would I do this? I was a guy who sat behind a computer and uploaded his podcast onto iTunes, and that's all I wanted to do. I was like, man, I'm fine being the guy in the chair, uploading stuff. You make the episodes. You're funny, You're famous and you're a great storyteller and you have cool friends. Like you go make the podcast. I got no interest in doing this, but I'll help you get it up. He's like, no. You don't understand, dude. This is you're gonna soon learn how much fun this is. And I was like, listen, I got no business doing this. I don't know, but he more or less not goaded us into it, but gave us a push down the Alpine slide, if you will, at Action Park, and we took the skin burning ride down. But I mean, ever since I was like, well, what am I going to talk about? He's like, well, what do you like? I'm like, I don't know, Star Wars, comic books. I like food. It's like, that's a podcast. I'm like, really? Who's going to listen to that? Like, people who love comic books, Star Wars, and food. I'm like, all right, I guess there are a couple of those out there. So I remember sitting down in the back of the Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash at Mike Zapsik. We had some audio gear, and I was like, all right, well, I guess here goes nothing. Let's do this podcast about Star Wars comics and food. And I remember how fast the time flew by because we were having so much fun talking pop culture and just geeking out with each other, really. And but yeah, at the end, I remember like 2 hours like flew by, and Kevin only wanted an hour, but we didn't know an hour had gone by. Like, we were really having so much fun. I was like, wow, man, that was fun. And we didn't sound like a couple of amateurs. We sounded like a couple of guys who sort of knew what they were talking about. And I just remember that feeling. I was like, wow, we did it, and that was fun. You want to keep going? Let's keep going. And that was 10 years ago, man. Like, that was over 300 episodes ago. So I think podcasting is one of the things I've done in the last 10 years where like I probably love it more than I did when I started. And that's pretty rare for the guys like us who do as much. I remember like once I was like, I'm gonna be a triathlete, and then that lasted a year maybe before I discovered like I don't really like swimming that much. I don't think I'm gonna do this anymore. And, we get into and then fall out of so many things in our lives, especially guys like us who travel, and we really get to do a lot of cool things. But I think podcasting over the last 10 years, not only do I love it more now, I love it so much that I want everybody else to do it, which is why we launched a whole studio now where people can come down and record. And I really love seeing people like at the place I was at 10 years ago, where like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think I should be doing this. I'm like, take a breath, calm down. Just go talk about whatever you love. And then at the end, they're like, oh, can I come back next week? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I love that all my friends are podcasting or live streaming or just creating content, and talking about the stuff that they love and bringing on people that they love talking to. I think it's cool. It wasn't that long ago we lived in a world where we didn't have access to all this. If you wanted to do something like this, you had to go to some overpriced broadcasting school and dump a bunch of money to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. And then I guess you had to, if you wanted to reach some kind of audience, you had to go audition at a radio station, maybe with some a-hole station manager. And and then even if you got on there, you couldn't talk about what you wanted to talk about.
I did that with Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Okay, so yeah,
don't they get you to do that kind of radio voice? Hey, this is Mike and Ming in the morning, and we're talking comics.
They told me I had too much of an accent. I was like, okay.
So you're a refugee from the oh my God, that's funny. That's awesome.
It's kind of I feel like probably the real super radio professionals feel like people who bought the taxi medallion for $500,000 or whatever it costs, and then all of a sudden people just are driving cabs now with an app for free. That's probably what it feels like.
Yeah, which is fine, but I think we've kind of discovered that for better or for worse, anybody can do this. Mm-hmm. And whether you get one listener or 1 million, it doesn't matter. That as long as you're having fun doing it. I think that's cool. I think it's cool that wall has been completely broken down. Where and I've met a lot of radio guys. They're some of them are a little pretentious. Because they went to school. It's like, I went to school for this. I was like, well, I didn't, and I didn't need to. And and I love kind of rubbing that in their faces too. I'll throw it back just as much. So, but I love that whether you're 8 years old or 80, you can start a podcast.
And I think what's also super important with the way the world is right now, and the way the pandemic, and it's a way for people to be closer to each other at a time that we can't. And I think that's really wonderful and fantastic. Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is about as close as I want to be with you guys. That's about it. That's it. What's good about it is that podcasting, and I've been dilly-dallying with getting my own podcast up and running, also because I'm on the road a lot. And I got to give props to Ming that he literally has 49 hours in a day to do 12 to 13 podcasts, and not only be a guest on a podcast, but then engineer a podcast for other people, and turned it into a business. And so I know that kind of feeling, just like, trying to get Brian Johnson straightened out back in the day is when Kevin told him, maybe I should get you together with Walt and just talk about some things. And then Brian Quinn joined them. And the next thing you know, they have one of the top listened to podcasts, the Tell Him Steve Dave podcast. And once again, it just all bore out of just like, trust me, just talk about what you want to talk about. And trust me, those guys talk what they want to talk about. No one's going to tell them they can't discuss certain topics. If you've never listened to the Tell Him Steve Dave podcast, or if you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I enjoy it because I've been a guest on so many other people's podcasts that I enjoy I enjoy getting the ability to talk to guests myself, and to frame the conversation and steer it in a way that I think is interesting, or that I love to talk about. And like tonight on my episode of the podcast that aired at 9:00 of the Ohala Rant, I had on Dominic Riggio, who's owner of Mess Bucket Comics, and he has a comic book series based about hockey. And so we talked about hockey, since hockey season, the playoffs are starting, this week, and we wanted to talk about that. It was good. It was a good way to bring in comics, and to bring in hockey, and to bring in just how people are doing. And then I had my friend Bob Senkowitz come on board, because he's a big sports fan, about how hockey's starting up. And he's a big Ranger fan. He's the guy that I go to Ranger games with all the time. So, that's what's great about certain podcasts. You could talk about, either stick to one subject and constantly talk about whatever it is you want to talk about, or you can have a wide ranging kind of pop culture, whatever hits your head kind of podcast. So when people start up, and if they, they want to pick up equipment and do it themselves in their house, or go to a place like a shared university in town, New Jersey, to do it is great, because there are people out there now that are doing it. I went into a Staples the other day, and they have like all this podcasting gear all of a sudden over advertised. And now they're offering the ability to podcast at their store. And I'm like, look at these, and getting in on the shared universe angle. And that's what's going on, because people are doing it, especially now that we're all stuck at home.
Absolutely. Now, you guys, your podcast universe, and I don't mean to bring the show down, but it'd be nice to mention him. You guys had a loss like a week ago of Scott Holden. Ming, do you have anything you want to say about Scott?
Yeah, Scott, big fan of Kevin. Obsessive, borderline insane. But I remember he came in several years ago. I recorded a podcast with him. He was working on a documentary about podcasting, and very much, probably one of the biggest Kevin Smith fans that I've ever met, and just a nut too. And I was shocked to hear he passed away about a week ago. I hadn't seen him in a while, but he was at many of the events, and I would see him. I knew he really loved this medium as well. So, and he got Kevin on his podcast. They recorded at the counter at the store one day. So for anyone who might have a show out there, it's like, oh man, one day I'd love to get Kevin Smith. It could happen, because he definitely made it happen. So
when he was doing his interviews for his So You Want a Podcast, or What's a Podcast, I believe the documentary was going to be called, he interviewed like some of the greats. He interviewed like Mark Maron. And I think he interviewed like a whole bunch of stand-up comics who went into podcasting as well. And him and his wife at the time traveled around to get these things. And I think he has there was over 12 to 15 hours worth of interviews that were done, me being one of them, as a matter of fact. And I always whenever I would see him, I would always like, and he'd ask how I was doing, but I'm like, how's the documentary coming? I want to see this thing, dude. You've telling me about all these great interviews. So in some hard drives somewhere is this footage that I think someone should finish for his legacy to be this documentary about a podcast. And I mean, it doesn't have to be a one full-length feature. It could be a series that's put on one of these streaming networks now.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, and that's cool that you're in there. I want to see that as well.
Yeah, we talked about an hour, so I can imagine what he would have talked to with other great people about podcasts.
Yeah, for sure.
In 2015, I made a small documentary film about the town I grew up in, a town in Queens called Middle Village. And the film is really not about Middle Village. It's about growing up in a simpler time. And I met Scott because, oddly enough, he grew up in Middle Village, and he showed up at one of our auditions for people who were going to be in the documentary. And he's very, very funny in the Middle Village documentary. And then I think Brian knows this, but I went on to shoot many of, as the cinematographer, I went on to shoot many of the interviews that were for his documentary film. And I'll tell you, he had some wonderful, wonderful stuff in the can. And I hope that movie gets to see the light of day. And, rest in peace, Scott. We miss you and love to his family. On to nicer thoughts. What do you guys think is the future of this medium? Because I don't really see this, like shows like this and what we are all doing now, I don't really see this as like a podcast. I think of podcast, I think of more of like an audio format. What do you guys think the future of these kind of broadcasts will look like, 10 years from now? Brian, I'll ask you that first.
Well, I think it's going to be what you're seeing here. I mean, it's, I call it more of a streamcast, to be honest with you. It's a streaming network that you always put it on. You're streaming it to do the interviews. But I've seen incredibly high-end production values of these type of shows. And I've seen literally just a straight up phone that someone's holding, and it's kind of Blair Witch kind of quality. So I see the medium. This is the medium that's getting out there now. A lot of places don't have the freedom to even have these type of conversations. And the more that the technology becomes cheaper and the optics get really good and the sound recording gets really cheap and easy to walk around. I mean, you could do an entire show with a webcam and a Zoom as long as you have an internet connection. And sometimes you don't even have to have an internet connection. You could do it with just a handy cam or your phone and edit and upload it later. Not everything has to be live either. So this medium is freedom. It's freedom from pointed views. It's freedom from agenda laced corporations. It's freedom from politics having a certain skew. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are streamcasts and podcasts that are incredibly slanted into a certain viewpoint and a definite agenda and angle. So the future for this, I think, is bright. It's just that there's still parts of the country that doesn't have really great bandwidth and really great access to doing streaming. So once the infrastructure catches up to it, it's just going to be, ubiquitous.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much at that point. Like, yeah, we can do a live stream with 10 people literally at the press of a button. Like before this, somebody hit a go live button, and all of a sudden we're on. I love that. I love how accessible this is. I love. Right now, I've connected people of all ages, of all skill levels, like complete Luddites who can barely operate their microwaves. We've somehow. It's become easy enough to jump on and live stream with them. And I love that. I think, probably 5 years from now, the quality will be a lot better. The audio and video, and it'll be a little more feature laden perhaps, but it won't be much different than this. We, at the studio, when we built this place, our main goal was to get everybody in the studio. I really wanted people to talk face to face because we don't really do that anymore. No one really gets together anymore. Most people are, FaceTiming, texting, whatever. So I thought it was a pretty cool way to bring people together. And then when the virus hit and we weren't allowed to get together anymore, I'm like, well, what do I do now? That was kind of half of our business model, was to get people face to face. But I was like, well, occasionally we would dial somebody in from a long distance. It's like, can we put them 2 or 4 or 6 people together online? Will it feel the same? And my biggest fear was like, man, can you bust someone's balls across a computer screen? Can I make fun of Mike Zapsik
Oh
across
yeah.
the computer screen? And very quickly we learned that, yeah, it translates very well. You can bust balls across the computer screen. I'm like, all right, that was great. And so that was pretty cool during the virus. I think guys like me and Brian, all the people we wanted to interview, all of a sudden they had no excuses not to come on our shows. They couldn't be like, oh, I'm out of town, I'm working on a film, I'm not going to be at home, because they were not allowed to leave. And I'm like, well, this is great. And I relayed that to all of our other podcasters. I'm like, hey, if there's someone you've been wanting to interview or someone you need to get on your show, now's the time to do it, because they have no excuse to come on. And quite possibly they're starved for attention and human interaction. All that attention they're getting before, they're not really getting right now. So you should ask them, reach for the sky. You never know what you're going to get.
It's funny. I have reached out to certain people and they're like, I'm sorry, I'm doing 2 others that day. I'm like, oh, okay, no problem.
Yeah, I guess that's the only valid excuse right now. But yeah, so not only are we able to, connect people from far away, we're able to connect multiple people from all ends of the earth. And so there truly are no barriers anymore to this. You can get people from Bangladesh, maybe not Bangladesh. I don't think their internet's that great.
The Wi-Fi's not good.
Yeah, but maybe like Mongolia, maybe, and Red Bank, New Jersey, and connecting together, and where they can have a conversation and interview each other, possibly for a live stream, so the world can enjoy it. I think that's pretty cool. So I
did so far I've done 2 now live streamed play readings, and we had people based in LA as part of the cast, and people in Philadelphia and people in Delaware and myself. And we did, an entire hour-and-a-half show in these streamcasts. And so people are figuring out these workarounds. Who's hating this is anybody who has office space real estate in New York City. They are losing their shirt right now because occupancy in some buildings is like 3 to 15%.
It's funny, guys. I've been using that same dirty trick in calling up all my notable friends and saying, hey, come on my show. What else have you been doing? I mean, I've been bugging William Sadler. I'm the biggest William Sadler fan in the face of the earth. I mean, from name a movie and William Sadler was probably in it. Death from Bill and Ted, and Shawshank Redemption, and Demon Knight. And I mean, I was like calling him all the time, and he's like, all right, already, I'll do the show. I got nothing else to do. So I know the guilt works great. And I think it worked with both of you guys too. So thank you very much. There was a question for Brian from Brandon Brooks.
Sure.
Brian, how do you feel about going back on film sets in this COVID world? If sets are safe as possible, do you feel it's the right call to do so? Or are you more on the side of waiting till a proposed vaccine becomes available?
Well, I was recently on a podcast, funny enough, with that's hosted by Steve Grillo from Howard Stern fame. He has a show called Aftershock XL with Steve Grillo, and there's a company now called there's a company that's been around for quite a while called Bright Shot, BRITE Shot, and they rent LED based lighting equipment for TVs and movies and stuff like that. So they just came out with the technology and the housings, meaning the tents and stuff, for sanitizing sets by UV rays, this level of UV that you put all the equipment in this big tent kind of thing. It blasts it for like 15, 20, whatever the timing is, and it cleans it out. He's also developed socially distant dressing room housings and stuff like that. So once that technology is there, and producers, directors, and DPs finally really do honestly narrow down shot lists, because that's the one annoying thing that when you get on a set, your call to set is 9 a.m., but they don't get to shoot you until about 2 in the afternoon. It's it kind of pisses off an actor to sit around for that long to get to your shot. And sometimes it's because they don't have a set shot list, meaning we're going to do a 2-shot of these characters for this scene, then we're going to do a 1-shot, then we're going to do a master, and then we're going to figure out that we have to do an exterior, all this type of stuff. I like to have a director and producer and the DP that has it all set up so that there's less time. My point being, the less time that you keep a whole bunch of people together is probably the better. You're going to see it make shooting more efficient because they can't really have a lot of people on. And you're going to make it, in the same time, it may delay things even more. A lot of preparation is going to have to go in order to get things done. So I know the Screen Actors Guild and the Directors Guild have put up protocols for film sets and television sets and most productions on how they can handle it. I was talking to Ernie O'Donnell, as a matter of fact, who's producing a TV pilot, and he was talking about all the hoops that SAG is making him go through, that they have to have a registered nerf on set at all times, and a whole bunch of things like that. So that being said, look, what role are we talking? Is it a Marvel movie? I'm on board. I don't care. What are we doing? I got to drink that water? Sure, whatever. This is a Marvel movie, right? This is a Marvel movie, right? Okay, I'm in.
What if it's Daredevil?
What if it's Daredevil? Well, I'd be behind. It doesn't make a difference. I mean, to be honest with you, Daredevil got a bad rap. The Affleck Daredevil. I think if someone attempts it again, obviously the TV show did really well with it. But if you're talking about a feature-length Marvel Universe kind of thing, someone should attempt it.
Ming, now I know that you built like a podcast empire, and you have a business in New Jersey. Can you tell our everybody watching a little bit about what you set up over there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to spread my love of podcasting to everyone else, and I mean it was basically birthed because me and Mike Zapsik started a couple podcasts 10 years ago, and we got some listeners. And then this is pre-TV show, so we got a TV show, and then more people found it. And as we were going to say comic book conventions, or some people would come in the store and they're like, "Hey, that podcast you guys do, I really like it. I listen to it. I enjoy it. You guys sound like you're having a lot of fun. How do I start my own?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, I mean, I really kind of need an hour to run you through all the gear and everything, but I'll give you 10 minutes, I guess." So I would try to cram everything into like a 10-minute lesson. And I was like, this isn't enough. We always kind of joked around about opening up some kind of classroom or something, or a studio. And, that joke became a reality about 2 or 3 years ago, where we were like, you know what, why don't we just get some cheap office space? We have the gear already. And, I guess we could use all that crap we collected at Comic-Cons. We'll deck the place out, and all this, all our comic book stuff that we've collected at cons. And we opened up a shared universe podcast studio, where it was like, all right, we have all the gear. I have all the technical knowledge. All you have to do is come down and talk. That's all you have to do. Just come launch your show. If you need some guidance, we teach classes. I'll go, if a high school wants me to go teach the kids about podcasting, I'll go over there and spend a couple of hours with them. Like, I really wanted to spread the love of this to everybody. And I see guys, even like Mike Zapsik. I see a guy like Mike Zapsik. Guy can barely operate his iPhone. So I was like, all right, I know there's people out there that don't want to mess with XLR cables and condenser microphones and phantom power and stuff like that. I was like, all right, I've done this. I've hit the wrong button before. I've ruined recordings, and I don't want that. I don't want that to happen to anybody else. So I'll pass on my knowledge to everybody else. And so yeah, we did. And I didn't know if this would work. I didn't know if anybody would use a podcast specific studio, but slowly but surely our friends came in, then friends of friends would come in, and then all of a sudden that one day where you get clients are like, "Oh man, we don't know these people. Oh crap, what do we do?" It's like, we can't screw this up, or they'll go tell all our friends that we don't know what we're doing. So, but now not only did they have a great time, but I remember at the end how happy they were, and they were like, "Man, that was fun. Can we come back next week?" I'm like, "Absolutely, you can." And
like a drug dealer.
Yeah, pretty much. And and they still come in now, and that was 2.5 years ago. So I love it started as a total experiment, but I think we've kind of built a business, not only a fun place to hang out at, but I think a business model that will work and will replicate, that can replicate itself as well. So, but I just, I think, us as guys who love film and music and just creating stuff, and when we find something that we love, we wanted to spread it out to other people as well. So even better if they pay for it. So Max Wassa, oh my God, one of my favorite people in the world. I have not seen her in many years though, but Max, you're amazing. Thank you for watching us.
So Ming, how are you dealing? Because I know you're a big fan of being on the road. We've hung out on the road on several occasions, so I know. How are you dealing with the convention circuit being all but gone at the moment?
Yeah, me and Brian both. We love traveling. I don't think if we didn't love it, we wouldn't be doing it as often as we do. That's what it is, bottom line. But how can you not love going to like a convention almost every week? It's the biggest party of that weekend in that weird city that we're at. So, but and the last one, I think me and Brian kind of went to the last con. We were at Astronomicon in Sterling Heights, Michigan, in the beginning of February, and there may have been maybe one or two small.
GalaxyCon Richmond was
That's right. Yeah,
I did, and that was end of February, beginning of March.
Yeah, but after that, like our lives. I've been doing this for 5 years. I think Brian's been doing it for a little more, but completely stopped at a standstill, and who knows when it's going to come back. And it was weird at first. Like we kind of have our whole years planned out in weekend by weekend, and we have our fun planned, and it stinks because if you see me and Brian at a convention, we're there, we're having a great time,
and we're not karaoke.
Yeah, we're not acting like we're having a great time. We're genuinely glad to be there. We love conventions. And then, as I like to tell people, the convention isn't actually even really the convention. The real convention is after the convention when you go and you find out, you go and find out where the party is, or you just go and find the nearest Irish pub and hang out there until they kick you out.
Exactly, or the greatest restaurants, or the most unknown speakeasy. That I always joke that Ming always finds the most hidden gems of every city we're in. And like, you're going to have to go to this laundromat, right? Go into the actual mop room, then open this locker door, push on the back of that wall, and then just fit through it. And then it's this really cool, hip kind of bar kind of thing.
Yeah.
That I love the most about doing these cons is meeting the fans, yes, and meeting other celebs because I'm fans of them, but then going into the cities or towns and having really great food and supporting all the smaller businesses too. There's so many craftsmen and smaller kind of vendors that go to that, buy space at these conventions and sell their goods. And then there's podcasters who go there to get a whole bunch of, content in one weekend. They can have 6 shows done and then spread it out. So there's a lot of people who depend on the cons, not to mention the hotel revenue that supports all the people who work at the hotels, the restaurants, the convention center staff, taxi staff, things like that, it's a huge dent. And that's just a small, tiny segment of, pop culture and business in general. So it is definitely.
Yeah, it stinks. And I think, I think me and Brian love being there. I think what it boils down to is when we were kids, it wasn't, we were nerds. No one paid attention to us.
It's a safe space.
We were looked down upon, and that stunk to guys like me because I read like the Avengers and X-Men and Spider-Man, and we knew how cool these characters were, and we wanted to share it with other people, and they would not listen. They're like, "Why are you reading? Comics are for kids. Comics are for losers." I heard everything, and I'm like, "No, they're not. This is adamantium. It's the strongest substance in the universe, and this guy regenerates, and he gets really mad. He cuts people up. How can you not see how cool this is?" And we were dismissed because of that. And lo and behold, 20 years later, everyone loves Hugh Jackman, and everyone's an Endgame fan now. I'm like, well, that's not what you told me 25 years ago, but all right, now you get it. And it's cool that we can go to a convention and there are like 100,000 people who know what I'm talking about now. And And yeah, I definitely miss that. But I think a lot of people are like, man, you must be going nuts. You can't travel anywhere. And I'm like, you know what? It's not so bad sitting still sometimes. It's not, I got to concentrate on the business. And we found alternatives. We're doing this. We found a way to stream online and talk to people. If there was no virus, we probably wouldn't be hanging out online on a broadcast right now. So I think that's pretty cool. I think that's
and look at what San Diego's doing. San Diego's doing San Diego Comic-Con at home, and they're airing panels for people to stream on and join. I know Kevin has his Hall H tomorrow, panel and stuff like that, and that's the kind of model that people have gone. I know you guys at the Indie Brigade did your DEF CON out there, and I was part of Mainframe Con and a couple of other virtual cons. It's tough for the vendors mostly because people are having to order things sight unseen, or and sometimes one of my favorite things is going up to actual artisan tables and seeing the handiwork of something. When we were in February, when we were at the Astronomicon 3, there was a guy selling all these sculptures he made of Baby Yoda in variant different forms of Baby Yoda. He brought 100 of these sculptures in various forms to the show, and it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday show. By the Friday evening into the Saturday morning, he had sold every single one of them. He got one of them. That's right. He sold 100 of them within a day and a half. And it's those type of people, those vendors that, you got to wonder, what are they doing? What can we do to support that? So, once we have a viable vaccine and treatment and everybody look, if anything, this has reminded people to be hygienic. That's all.
Yeah. Wash your hands.
Like wipe your hands, wash your hands. And they're asking you to cover your face. We're not asking you to swear allegiance to some crazy cult. We're just telling you to wear a mask. It's not for you. It's for the other people. And I see at least 20 videos a day of people losing their minds about it. And it's just like, geez, forget it. And
Just
that's the type of, outlets to talk about it.
Just to share, as we're coming to a close to the show, just to share a fond memory of mine. October 1976. It's the very, very first horror convention ever. Felt Forum, New York City. I got to meet Vincent Price and Peter Cushing. And my mom took a picture of me with these two guys with a 110 camera. Now, the aspect ratios of those old 110 cameras were very, very tight. And Vincent Price stood at 6'6". And even though I'm 6'7" now, when I was 6, I was just a little guy. So I have this great picture between Peter Cushing, who is not much taller than I was, and Vincent Price. But you literally just see about this much of me, and all the rest is Vincent Price and Peter Cushing. One of my fondest memories. Brian,
funny, don't mean to interrupt, but funny enough, the 110 aspect ratio is exactly what Instagram is.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's square. It was a square.
Do you guys remember that camera? It was like everybody had those back then. You just slide a little, and if you were really fancy, you had the one with the built-in flash instead of that stupid little cube on top.
Yes.
Flash cube, absolutely.
Brian, can you tell everybody who's watching us tonight where they can find you, where they can find your O'Halloran, where they can find all your cool stuff?
Media following, there you go. Brian C. O'Halloran. Brian C. O'Halloran on Twitter and Instagram. The Brian C. O'Halloran on Facebook. And then for the O'Halloran, it is the O'Halloran at Twitter and Instagram, and the O'Halloran on YouTube and Facebook page.
Sweet. Well, Mr. O'Halloran, as always, thank you so much for coming and joining us tonight and having some words with our
Be here today.
great guest. Yeah. And I will catch up with you soon, my friend.
Peace. Thank you so much for having me once again, Joe. Good to see you. 2 weekends in a row. People are going to start talking.
Everybody, the great Brian O'Halloran. Thanks again, Brian.
I'll talk to you again, and probably I'll see you on Tuesday, if anything.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Thank you, guys.
Ming. Thank you, Brian. Ming, I want to thank you so much for being on my show. I mean, you always, every time I ever ask anything of you, you always get my back. You're a stand-up guy. You're a great guy. I appreciate all you do. Can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Instagram, Twitter, everything at Ming Chen 37, MINGCHEN 37. And if you watched all four of us crazy guys, are like, oh man, that's awesome. I'd like to do that. We can show you how. Go to ashareduniverse.com or at ashareduniverse, and we'll get you up and running within minutes for sure. If you think if you want to, it's literally this fun. You and your friends can get together and stream like this, and start your own podcast, start your own network, create your own content, and it's addictive. Yeah, you're gonna have the time of your life for sure.
Yes. And I want to know, Ming, why wasn't I worthy of the DSLR video feed?
That was just a test feed. You're always worthy.
Oh, okay. Ladies and gentlemen,
the battery's dead. That's why.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Ming Chen. Ming, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope to talk to you soon. Be well, be safe, and good luck with the Orioles.
We're gonna need it.
And if you ever are doing a show about baseball cards or comic books again, please call me. I would love to. Show you some of the cool stuff in my stash.
Can't wait to see it one day, my friend.
Be well, Ming.
Thank you, Joe.
Come back to West Palm.
I will, for sure.
Everybody, the great Ming Chen. Wow, that was a fun show, Mr. Ridgely.
It really was.
Is Uncle Scott around by any chance?
He is not. He was.
Uncle Scott.
He disappeared.
What are you doing to me, Uncle Scott? You were supposed to close the show with me. No love.
He was waiting. He was in the comments.
Isn't that just like your crazy uncle? He's never there when you need him.
Right?
Yes. All right. I want to thank again both Scott Schiaffo and Brian O'Halloran, two of my closest friends. Thank you for always getting my back.
But I spoke too soon.
Oh, there you go. Where'd you go on me? I lost you.
I take some night medication, if you know what I mean.
Oh, okay. So what'd you think of the show, Mr. Schiaffo?
Oh, pure awesomeness. Those guys are the best, man.
Yep. And did you see there was a post from our Altoona crew, and you know who they are. They're all sitting around tonight. They're not social distancing, which has got me a little nervous, but the big whole Altoona crew is at Casey's house watching Wits End. So we'll get some feedback from those guys to see.
That's awesome. That's super awesome. Thank you, guys. If they're not watching this, they're watching that. But thank you.
And another bit of information about Wits End. This September, if you're anywhere in the Middletown, New York area, we are preparing the very, very first IMAX version of Wits End. It's going to play 2 nights in a row at the Middletown Galleria Mall at the IMAX Theater. I'm super excited to see our movie on a giant 4-story screen, the epic landscapes and the blizzard and all that jazz. So that was something that just developed. And Scott, I would love for you to come out and check it out with us. And as always, Mr. Schiaffo, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, man. It was a great one tonight.
Is there any parting words that you would like to say, Mr. Schiaffo?
No. Geez, stay safe. Be kind to one another, and love you lots, to say the least.
Love you too, pal. Be well. All right, Joe. There you go. This train wreck of a show is over. Well, luckily the casualties were probably not that high. Again, I want to thank Ming for being my featured guest tonight, and the lovely Brian and Scott for joining us. I got a wonderful, wonderful show lined up for next Friday. And I'm going to surprise everybody on Monday with what it's about. And, you never know who shows up on the show. It's always it's a crapshoot. Joe, do you have any parting words?
I do not. Other than everybody subscribe to YouTube, Facebook, all that jazz. You guys know where to go.
Yep. And please do me a favor. Watch Brian, Scott, and I on Amazon or on Vimeo on demand on our new film Wits End. We put a lot of effort into that film. It actually is a great film for the time that we're going through right now, because it's a film about hope and about family and about all the nice things in life. With that being said, everybody, What the hell's? Do you remember what my catch? What my final line is? So let me see. It's something about a man. A man. Live long and prosper. See you guys next Friday.